Nerds International proudly presents...
We've discovered the best video on the internet, everyone.
Possible the best video.
Possible.
I've not seen it yet.
Possible the best LARP video ever made. That's what it's called. It's called Possible the best LARP video ever made.
It's great.
Can I see
So
it?
no, you can't see it, Nick.
Oh, okay.
You go watch your extracurricular.
Okay,
And this is I would recommend all of our fans to watch this too, because if you want to see a bunch of school children literally shouting for 10 minutes straight, hitting a plastic baby with foam swords. And if you want to see a guy dressed in a sombrero and a poncho fighting Iron Man,
with a
wizard,
hoodie on.
Yeah, Iron Man with a hoodie on, a wizard, Donald Trump,
A dude with an extremely long hammer.
yeah, it's like it has no business being that long.
It's an OP hammer. I tell you what, it's crazy.
Let's stop listening to this and go check that out.
There's a bit where he swings it around like so mentally and takes out three dudes, and there's a guy with no shirt on with a balaclava and
Thinks
two.
he's a ninja.
Yeah, he's got two swords. He's just diving into people.
It looks like he's just moshing.
And they never stop shouting.
Yeah,
never.
there's not a quiet moment up until the very end when it finishes.
And there appears to be no rules as well. There's a bit, Nick, where somebody tries to do like an epic kill on somebody. Like there's somebody on the floor, and this guy just sort of like he pulls the sword up and stabs it downward into the guy, and the sword just bends. Mate, it is a cracking video.
We'll link it.
Yeah, and it's called Possible, the best LARP video ever made. Possible. Yeah, so it's Possible, the best LARP video. And I just want to say, guys, we're about to get on with the show, but you're going to notice a few differences. So let's do it, shall we?
Yeah, let's
shall
see
we
if
do
you
it,
can-
ladies?
Yeah,
we're doing it.
Shall we do it, ladies?
We're doing it.
Ladies.
Yes, do
let's
it.
go. Alright.
This is the 3T RPG podcast. My name is Harrison Hunt, and with me I have Nick Lamley
Hi.
and James Clark.
Hi.
Why did you guys say it like that?
Hi.
I know I called you ladies a minute ago, but you didn't need to be quite as effeminate as you are.
Sorry.
And this is an RPG podcast where we talk about tabletop RPGs and everything surrounding the hobby. And today we've got a show so jam-packed for you, it's going to be unbelievable. But why have we changed the name of the podcast? Because we're giving the show a little bit of a facelift. We're doing a soft rebrand here for
freshen
you.
up.
Freshen up. That's all it is. We've given it a bit of a spritz, and the reason being basically is because with twats in the name, nobody can share it on their Facebook. Nothing like this. That's all it is. But the actual content of the show is not going to change. We can still say things. We can still say things like fart.
Yeah.
Whoa,
You know, and poppycock.
Whoa, James, slow down.
I'm sorry.
What about big old hairy bollocks?
Nick,
Sorry.
Nick.
get out.
Alright, sorry.
My mum listens to this. You cunt.
Nick, you're so fucking rude.
Alright.
All right. Anyway, today we have got the feedback side where we talk about your feedback. We got what you've been slaying, where we talk about the games we've been playing. We got the main subject, which today is going to be the Satanic Panic. Back in the day, we've got our famous segments, Dragon or Blagging. We've got Demonic Blind Date. We got What Dat. We got Electro Letters, and we've got our award-winning outro. Yeah. So. Let's not muck about, let's not bollock about, let's get on with it, ladies and gentlemen, with the feedback side. The feedback side. The feedback side. Yes, bitch, the feedback side. It's the feedback section. Yeah, we take your comments and read them out. Yeah, feedback, bitch. So the first bit of feedback comes in from Owen Lean. Last episode, right, at the end of the show, I included kind of a outro music that had a sound of a horse in it.
Yeah.
And Owen Leaney comes in, he says, I listened to it on the way to and from work today, and when the horse effect on the outro played, I looked up to see where it came from, then suddenly realised it must have been the podcast, because there can't be a horse on the train.
Why can't there be a horse on the train?
I know, isn't that out of order?
That's a bit horsish.
Yeah.
Poor horses. Look, horses should be able to ride trains, people.
Yeah.
It's 2019, alright?
I saw a great meme the other day. And it was like horse-drawn cart, and then below it was like nowadays, obviously, you have horses that go into the back of trailers and get driven around. It's like, well played, horse. Well played.
So, next one comes in from an anonymous listener.
And the Anon says, you're really giving it to Peg on this one, huh? Hee hee. You don't run games online. You can't appreciate the value of a digital pack.
What he's referencing there is that our sort of, on our yearly awards show, we gave Pinnacle worst Kickstarter stretch goal for giving out cards as a Kickstarter stretch goal that were digital only. And something can't be a card if it's not on card. So they should be called $500,000 JPEGs, not cards.
Yeah, or at least, as he's put there, digital cards.
And he's wrong, right? Because we've run one game online. So fuck you, guy. Okay.
Actually, tell you what, no, more than one, because we've done a few in the past as well.
Yeah, we've run quite a few games online, and I will say this: I ran a whole campaign online, and I can appreciate the value of a digital pack. It's less. All right, so
Get out of this.
have some of that.
Less than $500,000, that's for sure.
Put that in your pipe and smoke. I don't know why I'm so confrontational. What's wrong with me? I ain't slept well last night.
We both had fever dreams.
Exactly. So next one comes in from Lohen Grinning. He's a Reddit user, and he talks about our Sword World episode. Oh, yeah. And he says, I started listening to this review because I was curious about World.
That's not a good place to start.
I mean, come on, mate. But podcast takes over 35 minutes to even start talking about the topic. He is right there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
The content behind that point was actually goof. And
Is that good or bad?
I don't know, man. And informative.
Okay.
But I would strongly suggest short the opening banter or moving of the discussion to the end. Well, to be fair, we have every time we do an episode, we do say we really need to shorten the what we've been playing segment.
Yeah.
And we just fucking
can't help it.
Yeah, we waffle on. I don't know, it's a curse. Logan
but
grinning.
We're trying.
To be fair though, right, if you really are hating that, and I don't want to suggest this, but we tell you the order of the entire podcast at the beginning,
Could skip.
so you
Could skip it, but that is, I don't know, what if you're driving a car? Actually, you know what, if you're driving a car, try and skip it. It could be a fun challenge.
You never know.
No, actually, do not do that. Do
Don't
not.
do that.
No, you know what? You are right. We do need to shorten it down, and we're going to try our absolute best on this episode. But
Yes.
if we fail,
We don't care.
it's your fault.
It's your fault, low and grinning.
Yeah, I'm
You
sorry
need to
about
know
that.
more about World.
As some keen-eared listeners may remember, we had some fan fiction written about us by a nutter, and that nutter has followed up by sending us an email. Jo Jower, she comes in and says, the subject of the email was "Thank you," and she follows up by saying,
OMG, I did not think you would read out my silly story. Lolly and me both listened and we laughed the most. I'm sorry if rape scene was bad.
Yes, it was.
I get rid of it for next time. I'm writing chapter 2 now.
Oh, God.
Thank you, I'm sorry. Jo Jower, La Weirdo. Kiss, kiss.
we did specifically say not to write anymore. So
What are you doing?
you'd not listened.
But, you know, what we're going to do, eh?
What are we going to do? We can't stop people. We can't take away your freedoms, Jo Jower. But all we can do is advise you. Give up. Find a different career than writing. You have no talent.
I know. Why don't you learn I'm sure there's English teaching podcasts out there. Why don't you try that?
Listen to one of those.
Yeah.
Instead of this.
Or maybe go to school?
James.
What?
Let's
Wait, we
not
can't-
be mean.
Okay, let's not be mean.
about
Okay, right. Let's dial it back. I'll edit that out, right?
Yeah, you won't.
Your writing is good. It's a good place to start using established characters that you know well.
Yes. Famous too.
Extremely famous. But you need to work on it. Well,
We love you.
I don't. That was so insincere. And that's it for feedback this time. Let's move on to what we've been playing and what you've been slaying.
Yes.
Good times.
One of these. Oi, yeah? What you slaying? Alright, so first up, of course, we've been continuing our GenLab Alpha campaign. I'm not really going to go into much detail with this one.
Still loving it.
Still loving it. Suffice to say, this is a campaign where you play as half human, half animal hybrids in a kind of massive outdoor facility, and you have to fight off evil watchers and wardens and have other tribes of animals. It's really good. Check it out if you can. It uses the Mutant Year Zero system. But moving on, right? So one of the systems that we really like is Savage Worlds, okay? And this is a system that really favors cinematic play. It has an ascending dice chain mechanic. So if you're better at something, you'll have a D6, then a D8, and a D10. And you have bennies that you can use for rerolls. That's the best way I can describe the system. And they've just released their new version. And I'd say two of the biggest changes that they've made is, first off, is the magic is different. Now you can alter it using bennies or by making the spell more difficult, kind of thing. So let's say you've got like a really basic spell like Bolt, for example, which is just a damaging spell. It's like your magic missile type basic spell, right? Now you can use spend bennies, which are like these resources that you get for kind of doing cool stuff or for doing daring actions. You can now spend those tokens to make spells more powerful, go over bigger distance, have different effects, things like this. And that's one of the biggest things that I think is a cool change to the system. That's cool. So I've been playing 2 games, Rippers, which is like demon slaying in Victorian era kind of thing, and I've been playing Last Parsec, which actually is award-winningly bad. But the thing about it is that I've been playing Iron Gate, which is a setting within Last Parsec that actually makes it quite good because it's all set on a prison planet, and so it's not as generic sci-fi as Last Parsec usually is. Anyway, during the Last Parsec game, I used these new magic rules because I'm playing a vending machine robot, and the way the magic works is that every time I use the Bolt spell, I'm vending some frozen food. So he's like a replicator from Star Trek. And there was a point, right, where we had this gigantic map. Like, Matt, the GM, right, he put this massive map down on the table, and our boss, like, he's this kind of crime guy, I think, like, it's kind of works like the Yakuza, he's been kidnapped. We get back to the office, and these people have just taken him off. We burst out the door and like over like fucking like 100 spaces on the map. These people are over there and they're like taking our boss, and I'm like, unhand him, fool, or I will destroy you. And they're miles away. So the woman's like, oh yeah, show us what you got. And I just went, right, I'm spending loads of bennies and shitloads of PowerPoints. Oh no, it's not bennies that you use. I'm being an idiot, but you can spend extra PowerPoints to upgrade the spells.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, basically I spend a bunch of extra PowerPoints and upgrade my spell, and I upgrade it so it goes over a super long distance and does extra damage. So she's like, show us what you got, thinking that I can't hit her, right? And then I just, frozen chicken flies across the room, donks her on the head and kills her in one hit.
It's like a cannonball.
Yeah, so she's the main bad guy. So in Savage Worlds, the main bad guys can take more damage than like extras, like mooks, goons. And it was just like, boom, chicken just goes, flies through the air, poof, right in the head. She goes down in one hit, and I'm just like, yeah.
Do it, vended.
Yeah, and then that's when the fight starts up, and we all the bad guys are running in all directions, we're chasing them, like, it's crazy, man.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, so I like the new magic system. I forgot at the beginning there, it wasn't bennies, it's PowerPoints. So you can spend extra PowerPoints or make the spells more difficult if you're playing a PowerPointless system, for example, Solomon Kane. That's one of the cool things. The other thing, one of the main things is like they've changed the chase system now.
Yep.
Now, as any real RPG player will know, chase rules, nobody ever likes them. No. Or at least in any game, people can't agree on if they're good or not, right? Yeah. I don't like them. So there was this old version that they made, and I won't go into that, but like now they've upgraded it into this thing where you sort of lay out a bunch of cards on the table, and that kind of represents the terrain, because what happens is everyone gets dealt cards for initiative, right? And if you get dealt a club, that's a complication. And depending on which card you're on the terrain, now this is hard to explain, but depending on which card you're on, like you're running along it, right?
Yeah.
As like this sequence of cards, that will change what the complication is.
Okay.
So let's say, for instance, you're running along and you're on a heart, but then you get dealt a club for initiative. It'll be like, rocky ground, do a maneuver roll, otherwise you trip up, or something like that, right?
Okay, yep.
Then each turn you also get 2 actions. You get 1 minor, 1 major. And the minor can be something like, okay, you can change position, then for your major you do a ram.
Yeah.
And I think, as far as I recall correctly, the ram, you get the +2 when you do the major, and you get +0 for doing the minor.
Right.
That's about it. But the chases take fucking forever. Now, I've seen everyone that I've played with is kind of making the excuse that it's because we're new and we don't know it. But then the way I put it is this, like, I was talking to my mates the other day about it, and we kind of like said, you know, whenever we sit down and play a game, like, it's never clunky when we first play it.
No.
Like, it never is, because we've all read the rules. We all, like, the DM read the rules, we know it. And these chase rules, we've all, well, everyone that's playing it, everyone that's running it, has read through it.
Yeah.
I just think the rules themselves are a bit clunky and hard to grasp. And the chase rules are not really good. But fortunately, they do have quick chase rules in there.
Better.
So you can just quickly, like, or it's like a quick encounters rule or something like
that's
that.
cool.
So it does say if you want a quick and dirty chase, just use those instead.
You're probably more likely to throw them in as well, because if it's not going to like kill a half a session doing a chase, then you're just like, right, this is a good opportunity to throw a quick chase in, keeps excitement going, move on, you know.
Yeah, it's the quick encounter. If you just want to have a quick bit where somebody's legging it through an alley and you want to catch them,
Being
do
chased.
that instead.
Wicked.
Other than that, I personally am liking it a lot. The book is lovely. The only thing is that, as we predicted, you know, the price point is an issue for some people because it's like $30-$40 now. But you know, that means that there are some people, like a couple of our mates that are in our group, are saying, yeah, I'm just flat out not buying it. I'm just going to get the errata.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that is a problem for some people, because the thing about Savage Deluxe, the previous edition, was that it was a tenner.
And that was one of its biggest selling points, because people that didn't start, you know, new peoples to the hobby, people that are starting out in the hobby and weren't too sure where they were going to start, and they wanted a good game that you can pick up quite easily rather than going to like D&D and having to buy a million books or whatever. It was like, look, here's a whole game for a £10. The rules are pretty straightforward. You can have a quick read through it and start getting into the sport, into the hobby. Whereas now it's like they've just kind of muscled out that whole area of newbies that might not want to spend 40 quid on a book or 30 quid on a book to get started. And it's a shame.
I think the only thing I will say is that sometimes there is also a sort of psychological thing of when a book costs more, some people feel more invested in it once they get it, to try and get people to actually play it, and also to try and get into it and understand it. I feel like the amount of Savage Worlds copies I've given out over the years, and people haven't ever bothered to run it.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean?
We're trying to peddle that for ages, isn't we?
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, maybe that will change now.
But is are they bringing the deluxe edition out of print, or will it continue to be
as far as I recall,
sold as well?
I think it's already out of print.
Right.
So
okay.
there we go. But you know, there's still copies hanging about. You'll probably be able to get them really cheap. Have you seen how much Explorer's Edition goes for now?
No.
You can get it for a penny on fucking eBay.
Really?
Yeah, I'm serious. Yeah.
How much is my? You know that hardback one, the original one I've got, the first ever.
Get
rule
that for
book?
about $5 as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was going to be a
Still cool to have.
Yeah, no, I like it. The art in that's
rare one.
fantastic, actually.
But obviously, as you guys know, you know, Christmas has just passed. I mean, not for everyone else, but that was ages ago now. But fucking, we usually talk in this segment about recent purchases and stuff like this, so that you guys can maybe have some cool stuff to check out if you fancy. And over Christmas, we got some pretty cool stuff. You know, people opened their hearts and wallets and got us some lovely gifts for Christmas. So let's have a little natter about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because first up, I got a all rolled up from my buddy Gary.
Welcome to the club, mate.
I know, yeah, I love these things, and these are essentially like gaming wraps. If you think of like a little thing that a workman might keep his tools in.
Exactly, yeah, like a tool wrap, yeah, that's right.
Except it's got a space for your little notebook, your little pens, and then there's a pouch for your dice, and it all rolls up.
Oh, that's clever. See what they've done there?
And yeah, but it's I got one with a black outer lining, a little clasp on it, and a red inner.
It's very nice.
And he sent me a little transfer to put a wild die thing on it. So yeah, love that shit. Love that shit.
Gas.
But Nick, you got a thing for Lamentations of the Flame Princess.
I did, yeah. So obviously I got the rule book for Christmas from Harrison, which was very nice. And then that's it. I started reading it, got into it. And I was like, wow, there's loads of supporting material for it. And then the old, collective addiction started. So I picked up Vornheim, the Complete City Kit by Zach S. And this is essentially a big old city within a book. It's fantastic. It is absolutely brilliant. There's random dice generators actually built into the front of the back cover, so it's a hardback, and then you literally, while you're running a game, you can just throw a D4 onto the front cover or the back cover, and it will automatically generate something. The sleeve is a giant map of a city.
Oh, wow.
How big that is, yeah.
It looks amazing.
Yeah, so you can just plonk that down on the table. No printing required.
No printing required at all. And then you've just got so much information on different things you can have within a city to keep the city feeling alive. Nothing's kind of unique to certain areas. It keeps it very open, keeps it very fluid. And I would say you could just use this as a toolkit for pretty much any game you like.
Yeah, because the way Zach S tends to write his setting guides is like, okay, this is a complete setting. However, if you want to rip stuff from it, you can do that.
Absolutely.
Vornheim looks fucking cool, to be fair.
Yeah,
and he does all the artwork himself.
Yeah, and the art's
Great
fantastic.
art.
There's creatures, there's conspiracies going on in the city.
So that is packed.
Yeah, it's brilliant, and there's so much info. It shows you how to quickly draw small maps by just putting numbers together.
Oh, sweet.
And yeah, there's just loads of great little tips. There's a bit at the back. You've got charts. In Lamentations, they love to give you loads of condensed information on the front and back of the cover, so it's quick reference, and no exception here.
So everything you need is like in the easy to access pages.
Absolutely, and
So, yeah.
it's just tables galore. So go check it out. It's what is it about? I think I paid about £15 for this.
That's crazy.
It's cheap for what you get.
I got something by the same guy actually, because I think we quite quickly found out that Zach S is probably quite prominent in the Lamentations. A lot of noise coming from that book there, Nick.
Sorry, mate. There we go.
Yeah, in the Lamentations sort of realm. And we can use the word realm on this podcast because it's all about RPGs, right? So take that. But I got Red and Pleasant Land by the same bloke. And this has won all sorts of awards, same as Vornheim. It's got Gold Ennie, Best Setting, Best Writing, Silver Ennie, Best Adventure, all of this shit, right? And Red and Pleasant Land is... it's like Alice in Wonderland by way of... Lamentations. So this is all sorts of fucked up and very similar to Vornheim. It's got a really useful shit in the front cover, right? And it's got the whole map drawn out there, and then it's got all of the random tables for encounters right there on the front cover. And it's really cool. And the thing about it is that in this particular setting, it's two kind of like vampire people that rule over the place, and the whole thing is like each square is kind of a different biome, and they're all rising and like falling on different heights. So the way it looks is like really bizarre and strange, and nothing works quite how it should. So it looks like a bizarre abstract painting. The whole thing,
or Labyrinth.
Labyrinth.
Scene with Bowie in it when he's trying to get the kid and all the staircases are upside down and stuff.
That is exactly what it represents.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like how it looks. So the whole thing's it's got bestiary in it with like Zach's crazy artwork. It looks
The art's lovely, full colour as well.
Exactly.
It looks like an old book though. I love the way it's been made. Like the red hardback cover and then like the almost
it's like cloth type sort of cover, and
it's
that
like a classic novel.
Yeah, that's exactly what it looks like, and it's really, really beautifully written. You can read it like kind of like a novel, and just it says at the beginning, just take ideas out of it. So like you can just take like the premise of the world, you can take just the bestiary or whatever, but it does say if you want to just use the whole setting, do it, and it's really, really amazing. Other than that, I got a bunch of other shit. I'll just talk about really quickly, mainly for Christmas and stuff like this. But I got Lion and Dragon, which is another OSR actual system. But the reason I got this is because it's to support Dark Albion: The Rose War, which is obviously the War of the Roses, but sort of fantasified a little bit, which is kind of a setting, and you don't need it, but Lion and Dragon supports that because it's medieval, authentic OSR role playing.
Wicked.
The cool thing that I quite liked about Lion and Dragon is that this is like, obviously it's OSR, and some people complained about our Lamentations review saying that we didn't go into the nitty gritty of how it works. I'm not gonna. It plays like D&D, alright? For fuck's sake. That's what OSR kind of is, but it's like D&D, but it's quite simple to play. There we go. I've explained how it works. Anyway, Lion Dragon is it's medieval authentic, so it tries to stick as close to medieval actual authentic stuff as it is, even down to the magic. It's like real magic and how it was used at the time.
More Game of Thrones-y.
Exactly.
Yep.
To the point where you actually even need to sort of, when you roll for your character, you need to say who your father was, what his job was, and then you roll for your background. So you could be a peasant, or you can be a knight or a noble, and you roll for that. Then you have to say what your lineage is, and that's important in the game.
Right.
In addition to this, like, you know how in OSR games typically race is class.
Yep.
That means that so your class can be Scotsman or a Welshman.
Oh, nice.
So that is pretty cool.
pretty cool,
And I
yeah.
like that. So yeah, it looks really cool. And yeah, the Dark Albion, the Rose War is like, yeah, that's a setting for it, setting the War of the Roses, obviously. And then you've got there's another supporting book called Dark Albion Cults of Chaos, and it's a big toolkit just for rolling up cults.
Wicked.
Which is fucking cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Love that shit. That's basically it for me. Those are my lovely Christmas gifts. So I just want to say thanks, Mum. And my mother-in-law got me Blood in the Chocolate, which is a great adventure for Lamentations of the Flame Princess.
Love to know what she thought when she read that title.
Well, that's just it. It's funny because this is Willy Wonka, but like a messed up Willy Wonka adventure. And we spoke about this on the podcast before. And the funny thing about it is that what I did is I have my Amazon wish list, and I've just got all the stuff that I'm sort of saving to buy later on there, right? And Millie just said, why don't you send me a link to your wish list and I'll just send it to my mum. Millie's my wife, and she said to me, why don't I just send it to my mum so she can get you something you really like? And I was like, yeah, fair enough. She sent it to her mum, and her mum just said to me, I had no idea what any of that shit was.
Should I be scared?
Yeah, and there was like all of this fucking weird Lamentations shit on there, like fucking like the weirdest shit. And she just went, she said to me, well, I bought you that one because I like the name. And I was like, all right, fair enough.
Fair enough. There you go.
That's a better reason than any, isn't
Yeah.
it?
So
why not?
she's probably as nuts as I am.
Yeah, there you go.
Right, so yeah, that's it for what we've been slaying and what we've been buying. I would say check all of those products out if you fancy. Vornheim, Red and Pleasant Land, Blood in the Chocolate, Cults of Chaos, and Lion and Dragon. All really good shit.
Check them out.
And with that, we're going to go on to the main subject, ladies and gentlemen.
Main. Subject. Magic. Main. Subject. Tokyo. Main. Subject.
D&D, and it's become popular with children anywhere from grammar school on up. Not so with a lot of adults who think it's been connected to a number of suicides and murders. The idea of the game, which is played by highly imaginative and intelligent kids, is to assume the role of one of the characters. One game can go on for weeks or even months. The problem seems to be that some kids take it more seriously than others, take it a step further, playing a character who brings them the power in a game they couldn't possibly get in real life.
About 2 months ago, a green eyeball was seen up in the sky. This eyeball was so big it blotted out the sun, okay?
So today we are talking about the Satanic Panic. Now, the thing about this is that we're going to get into a lot of subjects that viewers may find uncomfortable. Do we care? No. Definitely not. So back in the 80s, obviously D&D was vilified by certain people for being satanic, and it was actually protested against by a lot of people, and we're going to get into that in a minute. And in addition to this, a lot of very strange media came out about this, and we're going to talk about that too, and we're going to get into all of these things, and hopefully we'll try to explain how and why this happened, and also talk about if there's any justification behind any of this. Is there actually any truth in the belief that D&D is satanic? And please hear us out. You know, I know you're thinking, of course there isn't, but actually hear us out. And we're gonna cover all of this. So, without further ado, Nick, what you got for us, man? You've been doing a lot of reading into this,
Been doing
right?
some reading, a bit of research, and so the Satanic Panic, as it's now remembered as, is a peculiar situation that occurred in the early 80s. I mean, back in 1974, Dungeons and Dragons was arguably the first true role-playing game. And by 2004, it was estimated that there was over 200 million people playing it, which is extraordinary for a game.
That's pretty
Nerds.
Do you know,
Bloody nerds.
Did you know was it D&D actually got put into the like gaming Hall of Fame along with the Swing? Yeah, that's right. The Swing.
The Swing.
Yeah,
Bloody hell.
yeah. So it is up there with the Swing, D&D.
Which one is better, listeners? Let us know.
Let us know. But back in the 1980s, the game came under an extraordinary sustained assault from fundamentalist religious groups who feared its power over young minds. And this started really in 1979 with the tragic death of a 16-year-old child prodigy called James Dallas Egbert III. So he disappeared from his room at Michigan State University, and the parents of the missing teen hired a private investigator, Mr. William Deere, to basically look into James's disappearance. Despite apparently knowing nothing about role-playing games at all, this Mr. Deere believed that D&D was the cause of Egbert's disappearance. After learning that Egbert had played Dungeons and Dragons himself before. He also kind of looked around his room and saw some pins on a pinboard that really didn't resemble anything, and he was like, that looks like a map. That looks like a map of a boiler room. It was crazy. He was grasping. But so he made this odd connection, even though he knew nothing about the actual game beforehand, and he made this odd connection that clearly the disappearance of Egbert III is obviously connected to this game.
Yeah, because wasn't there? I can't remember if it's true or not, but forgive me because I'm slightly ignorant on this topic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so James Egbert III, right? Mm-hmm. Isn't it? Did he die in a boiler room or no? Because he. All right. Well, anyway, we'll probably get into that. But yeah. I believe that there was a lot of fabrication that he did based on a book that was later written, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. Right, so yeah, basically he made this weird connection that he believed that the disappearance was due to D&D, and that he'd found out that they'd gone down into these tunnels under the university to basically do LARPs, which is a pretty cool idea, really, if you think about it.
Sounds like a good idea.
You want to have a cool LARP, you go down to a fitting area to play LARPs.
Yeah, it looks like a dungeon.
Exactly. So anyway, he made this odd connection, and later on he actually found young Egbert III, and he wasn't down in the dungeons at all, or the boiler rooms.
The dungeons at a university.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? So his theory was then taken as fact by the media, and it caused an intense controversy over psychological effects of role-playing games. After several weeks, Egbert gave himself up to the investigator William Deere anyway. In 1980, less than a year after the incident, Egbert actually committed suicide by a self-inflicted gunshot wound. It came to light that the boy had mental health issues and also drug addiction, and it was completely unrelated to the game. Yeah. The guy had pre-existing problems. Bless him.
So Egbert was just missing that whole time.
He just was missing. Yeah, he was missing.
As far as I know, the James Egbert he'd attempted to commit suicide several times before, right?
That's right.
And the thing is that was some of those were even before he even discovered D&D.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So it was completely unconnected.
Mm-hmm. So William Deere was just a fool, right? Yeah. I mean, the thing about it is that I think what it was is that people wanted that connection, mm-hmm. and he was being paid, and as a result, he just went, well, yeah, you want that connection, I'll give you the connection.
Well, that's exactly it. And he was a ruthless self-promoter anyway, this Mr. Deere.
Totally, man.
And so yeah, Deere actually kept the true circumstances of the disappearance a secret until 4 years after Egbert's death, when he released that book, The Dungeon Master.
Yeah, I heard about that. It's like that was the shameless cash grab as well, because he was like, I've kept this all a secret, now I'm going to release this and I'm going to make more money off it by releasing the truth. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be surprised if he released like yet another book like the Dungeon Master 2, the real truth.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with it. I'm sorry, but I made a lot of money out of it. So yeah, he's not the only one to blame for this, but his book helped. So he released that book after the death, made a load of money on it. It was a load of bollocks basically, but why let the truth get in the way of a good story when you're trying to make some money?
Exactly, man.
Egbert's death due to a promise he made to the boy not to reveal the truth behind it all. So when he met him and stuff. So Egbert did suffer from depression, as I said before, drug addiction. He had gone into hiding in the utility tunnels under the university during an episode of self-harm, nothing to do with D&D, as I said before. But there you go, and that's where and then obviously later on, coming off the back of the steam tunnel incident, it prompted a number of works of fiction, including the novel Mazes and Monsters, and also 1982's Tom Hanks film of the same name.
Yeah, because that book was like really highly fictionalized, and yet loads of people read that believing like, this is just a novelization of true events, right? And
exactly.
it's
I'm
like,
the maze controller.
Oh, mate, fuck. It's so bad.
Right, so that was bad. So that was a very bad publicity stunt that turned something that had nothing related to D&D into something that was a bit of a thing. But no, it doesn't stop there. It gets worse. So, in 1982, high school student Irving Lee Pulling died after shooting himself in the chest. Despite an article in the Washington Post at the time commenting on how Pulling had trouble fitting in, mother Patricia Pulling believed her son's suicide was caused by playing D&D. It was quite sad. I've seen some interviews with Patricia Pulling, and she does mention that, She basically blames all of her son's pre-existing issues on the game because I don't think she wanted to look at herself in some aspects, which is quite sad, and they wanted to kind of think of any other reason other than the fact that the kid needed help to blame, rather than maybe it was his upbringing, maybe they were a factor in it.
She probably felt guilty that she couldn't see it beforehand and decided, oh, here's something that has been deemed as bad, so I'm going to pin it on that.
You see a lot, I mean, it's like a lot of people, who suffer from these types of things, they turn to things like alcohol, drugs, things like this, or even like in some cases escapism, and then parents will be like, oh, it was that damn game, it's the damn drugs that did it to my boy.
It's something like, before that.
Yeah, it's you got to address the root of the problem, not the thing they're doing to try to deal with the root.
That's their coping mechanism. Whether that's going out of control is something completely different.
Exactly.
This is it, and it's sad, but so that was the fact. So it was a pre-existing issue, but Patricia Pullen didn't really want to recognise that, and so she put all her emphasis on it was the fact that he was playing D&D. Again, it was clear that more complex psychological factors were at play here. Victoria Rockencharlie, a classmate of Irving, commented that he had a lot of problems anyway and that they weren't associated with the game in any kind of way.
Yeah.
At first, Patricia Pulling attempted to sue her son's high school principal, claiming that the curse placed upon him... Yes, that was the other thing. So she was adamant that basically from playing D&D, her son had a curse or hex placed on him that caused him to turn the way he did and eventually, ultimately, kill himself.
Wow.
So she tried to sue the school for that, first of all, stating that if the curse hadn't been placed on her son's character during a game run by the principal, then this never would have happened. She also tried to sue TSR, the publisher of D&D at the time. Despite the court dismissing these cases, obviously, Pullen continued her campaign by forming a group, a movement called Bothered About Dungeons and Dragons, or BAD for short.
You know what I find? I know that we shouldn't joke about something so dark, but like her son died. Mm-hmm. Bothered is quite a
soft term.
Yeah, I know. It's like your son's dead, man, and like you should be like really fucking upset.
Yeah. Bothered by it?
Yeah, I'm bothered about this.
By that,
I'm bothered.
I am hot and bothered about this.
Yeah, it's like Jesus.
No, I know. So anyway, she created BAD in 1983. So Pulling described D&D as, and I quote, a fantasy role-playing game which uses demonology, witchcraft, voodoo, murder, rape, blasphemy, suicide, assassination, insanity, sex, perversion, homosexuality, prostitution, satanic-type rituals, gambling, barbarism, cannibalism, sadism, desecration, demon summoning, necromantics, deviation, and other teaching.
Yep. Available now for $9.99.
$99.99.
Buy it now in all good stores. Man, the thing is, all of that stuff just makes me want to play it more.
Yeah.
Homosexuality, prostitution, I'm in.
Hello.
Satanic type rituals.
Cut me off a slice.
But yeah.
I thought she was trying to stop people from wanting to play the game.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Hyping it up a bit or what? So Pulling and BAD launched an intensive media campaign through conservative Christian outlets as well as mainstream media, including an appearance on the current affairs show 60 Minutes opposite D&D co-creator Gary Gygax. So she went head to head with Gary Gygax.
Whoa!
Yeah, she did indeed.
I wept. I said, boy, maybe somebody was going to really take and pay attention to this now and start doing some serious research and start stopping children from dying over something that they didn't have to die.
I don't think anyone is suggesting that your intentions originally with this game were anything but good. It was a game to have some fun. Mm-hmm. But in the light of what some people would consider to be strong evidence, don't you really think that you have to rethink your position about the game and at least make known the potential for abuse of the game?
Well, I again have to go back and say there's no link that this is, except perhaps in the minds of those people who are looking desperately for any other cause than perhaps their own failure as a parent for their child's death. And further, anything can be abused. Are we going to try to go around and say, this chair could be used by a violent person to strike another person. Therefore, it should have a warning label on it saying, caution, this can be used to assault you with.
I mean, she was adamant, and she fought this for the entirety of the rest of her life. Yeah. She blamed her suicide on. She blamed her son's suicide on D&D. Bad also targeted violent occult-related rock music, role-playing games that utilise occult mythology and the worship of the occult gods in role-playing situations like Dungeons & Dragons, blah, blah, blah. In its heyday, Bad spread to Canada, England and Australia, as well as giving lectures across the United States. It presented itself as a referral system for anyone concerned about violent entertainment. Although Bad obtained some success and support from the church, even serving as a legal counsel for eyewitness testimony, a gaming-related lawsuit, it's largely been debunked based on Pulling's estimates. So Pulling estimated that around 500 gamers would commit suicide every year. In the end, the US Centre for Disease Control, also I think the Medical Association of Canada, and also the the study of suicidology in America, all debunked these claims. They found no correlation, no links, and their final ruling was that they're not connected. I'm sorry, but they're not.
You surprised me, Nick.
Yeah, I know. So most of her points and ideas, not to mention credentials, were well and truly ripped to pieces, and it's quite sad. So later on, in 1997, Pulling died of cancer, and Bad essentially faded into memory. The anti-RPG hype all died out, really. So yeah, she did sadly die, and it obviously lost steam. But she did, to her dying day, still think that D&D caused the death of her son. Does anyone want to talk about Jack Chick?
My crew is big and it keeps getting bigger. That's because Jesus Christ is my nigga.
I'll speak about Jack Chick real quick, because the thing about Jack Chick, this was a thing that came out of all of this, right? Because Jack Chick, he was a holy. Well, he wasn't a holy man.
He was holy warrior.
Well, he was a Christian, right? A fundamentalist Christian, I guess you could call him. Yeah. And he used to make these things called chick tracts. Mm-hmm. And so they were like short comics that were supposed to educate the kids on like Bible things. So,
or propaganda.
Yeah, propaganda, and it would be like. It'd be like, this is how to live in a Christian way via the medium of a comic. Because he just thought, as long as you put something in comic form, that's what the kids like.
That's what the kids like.
It's like that thing, Rapping for Jesus. You seen that?
Shit.
Where it's like Jesus's crew is big and it keeps getting bigger. That's because Jesus Christ is No, I'm not going to say it.
And he does say that.
Yeah, they do say that.
It's like that type of thing. He just thought, Jack Chick thought that if you put something in comic form, then kids are going to love it. And he made a comic called Dark Dungeons, and we're actually going to expand on that later. But Dark Dungeons was an anti-D&D propaganda made by Jack Chick, and it was one of his chick tracks, and this was all about a girl that gets wrapped up in D&D, and the way he treats D&D is like it's a drug. As soon as you start, you're going to want more. Well, but if you start, won't you begin laughing? And it was amazing, man. One of the greatest comics ever written. I read it the other day, and
read it?
Yeah,
oh my god,
Jesus,
I've seen the pictures.
Crazy.
I've seen the pictures.
It's good stuff, man. If you want to laugh, give that a read.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's like 26 frames long, so it's good.
Oh wow! So at various times in history, Dungeons & Dragons has received negative publicity for alleged or perceived promotion of such practices as sadism, witchcraft, suicide, pornography, and all this kind of great stuff. Certain religious groups accuse the game of encouraging sorcery, which is hilarious because I've seen on actually on YouTube. Go find it. There's people talking about their what they've seen, and then one of them's like, "Yeah, well, I heard that." No, I know someone that saw a person actually summon a demon with their D&D material just before they committed suicide, and that demon just appeared. And they're being completely honest about it. They are adamant that they saw that happen.
But why are they saying this? Because the thing I don't get, right, is that why... What? I'm...
Why?
Well, isn't there...
No, because I don't get why they're saying this, because they obviously haven't seen that.
No, but isn't there this thing, right? Because their belief is so strong and they want to believe it, then they just fabricate this image in their mind and therefore think that they've seen it. Like when they do in the church, and then the priest is performing live exorcists on people. And that's because they're all in the same mindset, and they actually genuinely believe that shit's happening, and then they just let it overtake them. So if anything, the people saying that they've seen these demons are like the people as bad as the people they're trying to blame.
Exactly.
And as Nick said, mass hysteria. And apparently with those exorcisms, they turn the heating up really high, and people actually start going into fits and shit.
And because they breathe really rapidly and heavily, they start losing oxygen in their brain.
I don't know if people nobody's actually seen a fucking demon come out from behind a DM screen.
No, well, that's what they think. But that's a funny thing about, it made me laugh about the Jack Chick thing as well. The Jack Chick thing's really funny because they're saying, for someone that hates D&D so much, if you actually look at his comics, he actually remembered to put the D&D screen in every shot, and it's actually really well done.
Yeah, it's not bad artwork.
No, it's very good art, actually. I've seen it. But yeah, I think the bottom line is what happened was a very sad few suicides were connected very, very loosely to D&D, and a few bad people, Rona Jaffe for starters, William Deere as well, and also the guy who wrote Hobgoblin, basically just capitalised on this by writing some books that kind of glorify a very tenuous link. That got out into the mainstream, people started reading it, and it started an hysteria that was completely unconnected to what they actually feel. I mean, even Deere came out and said that later on, that he acknowledged that he thinks that a lot of it was down to his domineering mother, had a lot to do with the kids' problems.
Well, and around that time as well, Anton LaVey, the guy that founded Satanism,
Yes.
he was literally just starting that stuff, and the Satanic Panic was kind of happening just before all of this, and like I think that people were like looking for something to blame.
Yeah.
Like the thing is that Satanism, like, realistically wasn't doing anything that bad. No. And yet they wanted some example. Like, the public wanted some example to go, here's how Satanism is bad, and it just so happened that this was it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I think that's kind of like what it was. And you look at interviews with Anton LaVey, he's a nutter, he's a bit of a weirdo, but actually stuff he's saying ain't that bad.
No, he just says it's the so they're not even.
It's not that they really worship Satan, is it?
No, they're just the opposite to Christianity, and that's what it is. So all their symbols are like anti-Christian symbols to show that they're not.
It's
part
just
of it.
inverted. That's all it is.
I would call it an atheist thing, if anything.
Almost,
really.
yeah. And that's
weird.
the thing is that, but because it goes against what the church thought at the time,
Well, they could the opposite, yeah.
It's the opposite, and so they couldn't really. What the fundamentalist Christians didn't really have anything to hold up and go, here's why it's bad.
Yep.
So when something finally happened, they were like, here's why it's bad, and that's why I think D&D became the whipping boy.
Absolutely, and the best thing they could use to stir up this hysteria as well is the fact that it's like, it's not going to affect you because you're God-fearing citizens. It's going to get your kids.
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
what you've got to worry about.
Exactly. I think you're right.
And instantly people just start panicking. But anyway, a lot of controversy came about, and it actually led to TSR removing references to demons, devils, and other potentially controversial supernatural monsters from the second edition of AD&D, published in 1989. So TSR actually got a bit scared by it, and they actually removed some of it from their games. These terms were later replaced by reference, so they put them back in later on in the 90s. But they did actually do something, TSR. They did actually, take it out, and then they put them back in again later on. So
that's a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame, really. I mean, but
because the thing is, it's mostly harmless. I feel.
Yeah,
I feel like
totally.
if you
it's all fantasy, fabrication. It's all just in the mind, isn't it? Just like a bit of fun that they're
swords,
meant to be having.
battles, maiming, killing.
It's all make believe, right?
Poison.
Is it? I do feel sorry for the parents, Of course you do, and I feel sorry for the fact that they saw it that way, because it's not. I hesitate to use the word brainwashed because it's not necessarily that. It's just the way they were raised in the Christian fundamentalist Christian environment,
like conditioning.
Yeah, exactly. And if you had two options, you could I heard that your son committed suicide. Can I ask why? And it's like, do I say, it's probably to do with maybe something I had to do with it, or do you just blame it on a book? It's a lot easier to blame it on a book.
You can pin it on something, and then you're out of it. Or you could be like, we don't know, we never knew. He had some mental issues we ignored or didn't realise was there. Therefore, that means it's my fault because I'm a bad parent now.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you admit that, you're always going to feel like a bad parent, even if it wasn't your fault. You know what I mean? And that's why it's so sad. And I really feel for them.
I do.
But then all those people that tried to capitalise on it, like the Mazes and Monsters,
they caused the Satanic Panic. It's their fault. If the blame lies with anyone, it's them three authors that made them shitty books that came out just after the tragic death of two young teenagers.
Yeah, like Jack Chick, that hoe that wrote Mazes and Monsters. I can't even remember her name. And who was the other one? The director that made the Mazes and Monsters movie. Can't believe Tom Hanks starred in that.
That was his first lead role.
I know, but that brings us comfortably onto our next point, because obviously we spoke about Dark Dungeons written by Jack Chick and the Mazes and Monsters book, and believe it or not, dear listeners, these were made into major productions. I don't know, but Mazes and Monsters was actually kind of a Hollywood movie. It was capitalising on this in quite a big way, and as James just said, starred Tom Hanks in his first lead role, and he looks like a little baby in it. And
I'll tell you what, right?
But he's still got the same Tom Hanks voice, though.
Yeah, he looks like a little baby, but his voice is exactly the same, and it's really, really weird and off-putting.
Yeah, so we'll talk about this one first, and then we'll get onto Dark Dungeons, because that's a bit of a weirder one. So, Mazes and Monsters, James, you watched this?
Yeah, I did. I watched it. I actually quite enjoyed it.
Tom Hanks and his friends get caught up in a deadly game of fantasy.
I am the maze controller.
Until they take it too far.
I propose we play Mazes and Monsters in a real setting. It won't be a fantasy.
Too bad for one of them, because now there's no turning back.
This is only a game.
I know, I killed somebody.
Mazes and Monsters.
Saturday at 3 on ZTV, Fox 17.
So take us through the plot.
Well, what I will say originally is that so the film was based on Rona Jaffe.
Oh, so that's the lady.
Rona Jaffe is the story writer, but her book was based on the inaccurate newspaper stories about the James Dallas Egbert III.
Yeah, because I remember it really features quite prominently the
William Deere.
Yeah,
he's in it.
Yeah, and it features the bit with the under the school with the tunnels. Yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, what happens in the Mazes and Monsters film is it's all set around college, and they're just starting one of the years. And this guy called JJ, he seems to wear a hat in every single different day. He's got a different hat, which I think is hilarious. But they're looking for a fourth player to join their group, and then Tom Hanks' character comes in as a transfer student. His name's Robbie in it. He already promised his parents that he wasn't going to play it anymore because he used to play it beforehand, and then he said,
he's a recovering addict.
Yeah. So that's how they're playing it, right? So he said he's not going to play it, but then he's sort of looking at the notice board, sees the advertisement for it, and then JJ comes over to him and goes, "Hey man, join us," and basically saying he's trying to back out of it and be like, "No, I can't." He's like, "Nah, come along," and then he goes to a party, and there's this girl Kate. Who he's then attracted to, and it just so happens that she's part of the group. So then he's like,
"That's a damn lie." Anyway, that wouldn't have happened in the 80s. A woman playing a fucking RPG. Look, I'm sorry if that's a sexist joke, ladies and gentlemen, but in the 80s, a woman playing D&D in America, nope.
And basically, the reason why he joins the group is just basically because of that girl. Because he's like, "Well, I fancy you, so I might as well join."
Of course,
yeah. Of course. And so, obviously, a romance ensues between those two, and then they keep playing, and it's good.
Robbie plays a cleric, right?
He plays a cleric, but he managed... I don't get it. It's kind of cool, but he said that his last level that he got his cleric to was level 9. And then he just plays the character he played in the previous campaign and brings it into the new one.
Whoa. They haven't done their bloody research.
Doing there?
He just brings it straight in, and then he's just playing the person who he played before. And it's just like, well... Okay.
Maybe you might do that, but I mean, let us know, listeners. Would you ever allow that? I bloody wouldn't.
Mate, you're all level 1 and he rocks up with his level 9 character.
To be,
That's not fair, is it?
I know,
or they might be like level 15. He comes in at level 9. He's like, "Well, you bring this weak ass cleric for?"
Who's this guy?
JJ, the main guy who set up the group,
the maze controller.
Actually, in this...
Yeah, I think they call it the maze controller.
Yeah, in this campaign, he was not the maze controller. It was other guy, Daniel.
Okay.
And he was the maze controller of the session. So JJ was actually...
The words maze controller really get on my nerves.
Yeah, no.
But he was a player in the game. Now, he starts, basically, watered down version, he starts contemplating suicide because they haven't played in like 3 days and everyone keeps cutting him off. Like, Daniel's got like exams to do, and then obviously Robbie and Kate are, together and doing stuff. But they eventually start playing again, and then JJ seems really uninterested, and he dies a pretty shit death because he wasn't paying attention properly. And it was basically like, you walk forwards, you don't.
Oh, we're talking character dies.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, character death. So he walks forwards, doesn't see the pit below him, falls down it, gets spiked, and that's it. And then they all shout him like, "Oh, I can't believe you did that! It's your fault! You weren't paying attention!"
But that is like, isn't... But how would you not see the pit in front of you? Like, that's so dumb. What a shit maze controller.
Yeah, well, come on.
Come on, control the maze a bit better, you cunt.
But I think,
come on, Daniel.
I think he did this on purpose, right? Because what happens after this is that he proposes to start a brand new game of mazes and monsters in a new campaign.
Right.
Inside the Pequod Caverns.
The Pequod Caverns. What a
so
name.
that's the tunnels then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So inside the Pequod Caverns, which are basically like the caves, they're sort of, these aren't under a school, they're away from school. You obviously, no entry, you're not allowed to go in there, and they're like, if we ever got found out, we'd get expelled. But the idea is...
oh my God.
The idea is that JJ wants to be the maze controller, but he's actually doing a full-on LARP. And it's kind of cool, because you see them going into these caves, and they're using, like... pretty much just caving inside it because it's like narrow areas and that. But he set up loads and loads of gizmos around the place. He manages to sit himself in a space of the caves where he can beckon his voice around the whole thing and shout like orders to them or say a monster's there and stuff like this.
See that game. That's maze control.
Yeah, that is maze controlling at its finest.
It did actually sound great, and he made a whole map of the whole maze, so he knew what was everywhere, right?
What, he set up like actual traps?
Real.
Wait, I'm talking about this like it's real. It's not. It's a film. I have to remember that.
Not actual traps, but you know, like a skeleton pops up, and then like he's got like a torch in its mouth, and then it's pointing in a certain direction and stuff like that.
And it's like,
there's like writing on the wall and stuff.
That sounds sick.
Yeah, it does sound amazing. I saw it and I was like, this would be epic fun to play.
Yeah.
But what happens is when they first go into the caves, JJ shouts that there's a monster nearby. Now Robbie, Tom Hanks' character, he freaks out. He freaks out massively. He actually envisions a monster in front of him.
Oh, I think I know what happens.
Yeah, no, he starts freaking out. He's like, help me, help me, help me. Everyone comes to save him, and then he's just like, oh, the monster was there, but he has been slain, because he thinks he killed him. And then they're just like, oh my God, man, you're like, that was great, really in character, that's awesome. And then like they sort of get back in the car after the session, they leave, and then Robbie starts sitting there, and then he goes, you know, he blesses them all when he gets out of the car.
Because he's a cleric.
Yeah, because he's a cleric, he's a holy man. And that night, he now starts having these fucked up dreams. And the first dream he has is about...
This is so bad.
The Great Hall.
Oh, right, yeah.
Right? And the Great Hall, who just happens to be a person, tells him that...
Wait, the hall is a person?
Yeah.
What kind of fucking stupid...
Hello, Robbie.
It's me, the hall!
Don't mind me, that's just my dolls.
I need a waxing. Somebody clean me.
No, he actually tells him that in order to reach the higher level,
right,
he must change how he is as a person. He must be a solemn, alone being and be celibate.
IRL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the very next day, he breaks up with Kate. And then
fuck.
Yeah, and then he just kind
no more masturbating for me.
I'm just being a true cleric. I gotta stop all
Level
this.
15 spells. I love that they read the Mazes and Monsters handbook, and you know under the spell requirements, it's like requirements. 15 charisma, must be level 15 cleric, no masturbating,
no girlfriend,
no girlfriend. It's like, look, I knew this game required no girlfriend anyway. Yeah. It's fucking Mazes and Monsters. Of course I don't have a girlfriend. Fuck me.
So Kate, now his ex, a bit later on.
How does she take it?
Well, eventually it kind of turns mutually, because she's like, oh, I'm so sorry, like, have I done something wrong? He's like, no, not at all, I still love you, but we just can't be together.
You know, level
and
10.
then somehow she just accepts it.
Okay.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I'd accept it. I wouldn't want to be with that fucking nerd anyway.
I'll be like, cleric, fuck off.
Cleric, I want to be with a fighter. Look at that guy's arms.
Yeah, exactly.
So, fast forward in the film a little bit, Kate starts to worry about Robbie, as she thinks he's staying in character a bit too much outside the game. And then see Daniel, the original GM of the Mazes and Monster game that they were playing. He gets followed to the caves by Kate.
Right.
Kate goes in there, almost gets lost. Daniel finds her, they get out, and then Kate and Daniel hook up.
Oh no!
What?
I know.
So it's all right for the maze controller to hook up.
Wait, what class is Daniel?
Oh shit! I can't even remember now.
Well, as long as he's not a cleric, that's all right.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
It's fine.
He definitely weren't another cleric.
Thank God. God, I was worried there for a minute.
Innit? Alright, and then again, fast forwarding a little bit further. JJ has a Halloween party.
Yes.
And everyone's there. Robbie's there.
Well, it's good because he's already got the props, those skeletons and that.
And again, I tell you what, the amount of hats that this guy has is amazing.
Yeah.
Like the first time he comes in, what are those hats with the spike at the top?
A German infantry helmet.
Right, he's wearing a German infantry helmet in his own house with his mum in the opening scenes.
Wow.
Why?
Then, like any other hat, he's got cowboy hat, he's got, the pilot's hat, he's got a bowler hat, everything.
It's his thing.
Yeah,
his hat game on point.
And then in this Halloween party, he's wearing a fucking a hard hat.
What is wrong with this fuck?
Let down.
Oh no, it's
I
fucking
know that
crazy.
the director actually looked at this, like all the costume designer, and went, "Look, these guys are just wearing normal clothes. I haven't got much to do in this film. Fucking stick. I've got this collection of hats, and I'm going to fucking use them."
Yeah, I blew the budget on hats, guys.
So at this,
So we blew the budget on hats and Tom Hanks.
Yeah, anything else is just
Tom
whatever.
Hats.
Tom Hats.
So yeah, at this Halloween party, Robbie's sitting there, standing there, and then he actually leaves early, and he sleeps whilst the party's still going on, and obviously has another weird fucked up dream about the Great Hall.
Me again.
And then exactly, and then he wakes up, and it was basically portraying that the party's still going on. So he must have left really early, slept really quickly, had a dream really quickly, and left really early. So he must have left in the space of an hour.
He's
or
a massive
something.
nerd, isn't he?
He's just had a 13-minute nap. Back on it, mate.
With the Great Hall.
He's an efficient cleric.
Yeah. So essentially, this is where he goes missing.
Right.
And this is where his friends can't find him. They start sort of looking around. They don't know where he is at all. They call his home. And speak to his
Great
mum.
Hall. No, I haven't seen him.
And then they search his room, and they see a map that he's created.
Oh right. So what William Deere did. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's got the two towers.
Was it on a pinboard?
It was not.
Oh, okay.
No, it was not. It was just like a big sheet of paper that was all rolled out.
You can't expect accuracy. Come on.
Yeah.
But then he's like, it doesn't represent anything that they know at all. And it just looks like works of Tolkien because it talks about the two towers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they can't find him, and they look for him in the caves, and then they realise, well, if he actually is gone, how about and we can get in serious trouble with this. So they clear out all their gear from the caves, and then after that, a police investigation ensues. And then they believe that he's been killed by a player of the game. The police do, and they can't find him.
That's good police work right there.
Yeah, and they're just like, it was all just speculation, but they're telling their, the friends of the missing person, we think one of the players got out of control and killed them.
So what do you think happened?
What do you guys think happened?
One of the players Robbie played with got carried away and killed him.
Well, that's kind of far out.
Mazes and Monsters is a far-out game. Swords, poison, spells, battles, maiming, killing.
Hey, it's all imagination.
That's the famous line.
What?
That's pretty far out. Mazes and Monsters is a far out game.
So yeah, after this as well, their friends start to figure it out, and they realise that the Great Hall is a person. Because his brother...
That still fucking annoys me. But go on, his brother, what happens?
His brother was called Hall.
What? No!
Or he had maybe Hall in his character name, but they assume, it must be his brother that they're looking for. Because the short story about his brother was one Halloween, he left and disappeared, and no one could find him.
Yeah.
So that's what Robbie's done. Halloween, he's left, no one can find him.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So... they're trying to find Robbie still, and then it cuts to Robbie. He's in New York. He gets chased by a couple of muggers. He doesn't know what's going on.
What the fuck?
Yeah, and then they're saying, they say, "What you got there?" And then he says, "These are my spells. I guard them with my life."
These are my spells. I guard them with my life.
Oh no! I'd take him for every penny he's got.
Yeah, I would mug him.
I would mug the shit out of him for saying that.
And then he starts running away. They corner him. And then
they've got guns. He's like,
my spell.
He's like,
bang!
Magic missile.
He's holding a little gem out in front of him he's doing a spell. But then he starts imagining one of the muggers as a monster. he actually stabs him and kills him.
What?
Yeah.
Robbie does?
Yeah, he has got a knife on him, and then he's like stabbing it.
Oh yeah, because it's just like ceremonial dagger.
Yeah,
cool.
Even though it's a flip knife in real life. And then
Brilliant.
next part that happens is that he kind of comes around, and he calls up Kate, sobbing his eyes out.
I killed someone.
Yeah, calls up her dorm room saying,
Hello?
I have a collect call from Robbie Wheely. Will you accept the charges?
Yes. Robbie?
Kate, I'm in New York.
New York? Robbie, are you all right? What happened?
Oh, no, I can't remember.
Robbie, it's going to be all right. Where are you exactly?
There's blood on my knife.
Knife? What happened?
And it's on my hands. I think I killed somebody. I know I killed somebody.
Robbie, just tell me where you are.
she directs him to JJ's house because his parents' house are in New York. He says, meet us there, we're on our way. They get in the car and try and drive to him. So after that, Robbie gets into the subway and then he starts going under. He's freaking out. He thinks that the sound of the subway above him are dragons. And then,
oh my God!
Yeah, he's really freaking out and stuff. And then he actually comes across a hobo. And this hobo actually says, "Is it a wizard?" No. He goes, "Hello, I mean you no harm. I'm just a holy man trying to find his way." And then he goes, "They call me the Rat King."
Oh, no!
Because he's a hobo.
Oh man, that's totally something someone in New York would say.
Yeah. And he's like, "Oh,
it's realistic." That's the most realistic thing about this film.
Yep.
They call me the Rat King.
They call me the Rat King.
And he's like, "Can you please direct me? I need to know about the two towers. You know about this?" And says, "Oh yes, of course I know about the two towers."
Oh, the Twin Towers.
Yeah. And so he gives them directions. Next part you see is that the friends have worked out that it's going to be the Twin Towers. They are running there. Robbie's already in there. They're going up and down the Twin Towers. They chase him up and down, and they eventually literally get up to the roof section where Robbie is about to jump off.
Robbie! Robbie! Pardue, what are you doing?
Going to join the Great Hall.
You can't. It's a trap.
I have spells. I'm going to fly.
You don't have enough points. I am the maze controller.
Maze control?
Yes. And I have absolute authority in this game.
Game?
Game.
Game. JJ, what am I doing here? Kate, why can't I remember?
Friend you can turn to.
After that, they, it goes to like 3 months later, and then they go and visit Robbie at his house, and they're like, his mum's like, it's nice that friends are coming to see him because they hardly ever see him. Yeah, so what happens is they go over to him and they say, "Hey Robbie, how you doing?" And then he goes, and then he's still in character. Just so happens he's still in character, and he's looking, upon the lake around his behind his house. It goes, "Have you seen these magical forests? Have you been there?" And then they're all sad because they thought Robbie would not been his character anymore. But they all get sad, and then because they're good mates, they basically play a last game with him and pretend to be in character.
What the fuck? So this game ruined his life, right? Made him literally insane, and they just go, "You know what? You could do a bit more, mate.
Let's give you some more." So, moral of this story is: don't play LARPs.
Don't play in the first place.
Yeah.
So essentially, what it is that he lost his mind to the game.
Yeah.
And completely, he killed someone. He was almost going to kill himself.
Yep.
And
he tried to attack a mugger with a gem.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
eventually
also
he killed him with.
He's a brother called Hall, which is that's the stupidest thing about this.
Yeah, that is the stupidest.
That's fucking
thing.
dumb. But in addition to this, right, that was amazing, James. Genuinely very good. I really enjoyed that. Now I don't need to watch the film, and neither do you anyway, which is very handy. But that was awful. But yeah, Mazes and Monsters is a far out game, guys. It really is. The thing is, I think that it was one of those things, like, obviously it was based on the book, but, like, it's just the amount of stuff that is just, like, so wrong about it. People don't continue to be their characters when they're out of game. Although, we did once meet somebody who did get so into character, and I'll keep them anonymous, but they were playing in a LARP, and they got into a relationship. Their character was in a relationship with another character in the LARP, and they got so into it that they were thinking about it outside of the game, and all they could ever do was think about that relationship. And apparently they were thinking about it so hard, and they were just like so into it. It was all they could think about, and they nearly crashed on a motorway.
Whoa.
And they nearly died. And then they were like, oh yeah, shit, maybe I should stop this LARPing for a while. It's getting too much.
But that's crazy, because that backs up all the...
It's a bit like that,
It's backing up all the things.
So
you're getting way too heavily invested. Well...
yeah, but again, I think you've got to... I think sometimes... I don't know, maybe some minds...
But some minds
play this game.
And maybe Robbie was a bit like that. But I just don't think it's ever like that. You don't
I don't go to work and then start acting like Roland.
Trying to attack people with gems.
With a whip and stuff, yeah.
But in addition to that one, there was another film called Dark Dungeons. Now, this was made from the Jack Chick comic.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We'll probably try to summarise this one a bit quicker.
And it will actually be quicker, because it's a short film.
Yeah.
And it's based on Jack Chick's, flipbook comic, pretty much. And it's, I mean, the story is pretty quick to cover anyway.
And the thing about this one is it has a very, very different flavour to Mazes and Monsters, because this one is probably a parody.
Well, yeah. The actual film itself was a Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
And what they did, they purposely, it was just so they could bring it to life, because they thought it was so hilarious and funny.
Oh, is this the one that goes RPG? RPG!
Yeah, the funny thing is...
RPG! It's satire, isn't it?
Yeah, it's satire. And the two kids, the two people that like go to play the
she's
RPG.
got the worst name. Her character's got the worst. Darkleaf,
yeah. And
Blackleaf. Blackleaf, that's it.
Yeah, and they go to like play the RPG, and they're like... should we play? The seniors warned us against playing RPGs, and then she's like, I don't know if we'll be popular enough to play the RPGs, and it's like, it's so funny. Yeah. I do think it is a parody, but James, take us through the plot, my man.
Okay.
Evil will reign, and we will bring it forth in the flesh. How are each of you working to fructify the Dark One? Report!
Astrology and tarot card sales are pulling more and more young people into the Dark One's domain.
World politics are steadily progressing toward our one world government, naturally with our agents in place.
I am excited to announce that this year more people have decided to be homosexuals than ever before in history.
Role-playing games are the perfect gateway to embracing Satan, and have spread far and wide across the land. If we can corrupt just a few more souls at this college, then the stars will be right. And when the stars are right,
he will awaken and revel across the world.
Right, so Dark Dungeons, what's the plot? Well, in the film it was slightly different to the comic itself, but the comic's easy to read. So what happens in the film, in the opening sequence, is that there's a satanic meeting going on, meeting of Satanists, and they're all reporting on how them getting towards the Dark One is going on.
Because as we all know, you can't play D&D unless you're a Satanist.
Of course, yeah.
And if you don't have a pentagram on the floor that you stand in a circle around,
it ain't a fucking game.
What's the point?
Exactly.
Goat blood. Get that goat blood. Why do you think my fridge is full of goat blood?
Yeah. And
you need it. I've got pints of the stuff.
See, and for some reason they are in the tunnels underneath the college, and they say if we can corrupt just a few more people in this college, then the stars will be ripe.
And the funny thing is, it's like in that scene as well, they're literally all standing around like, that typical like robes, standing around in a circle. If we can corrupt just a few more people, then the stars will be ripe.
And then And then comes the title sequence, which I fucking well enjoyed. It was a bunch of dice and loads of blood.
It's fucking brilliant.
It was really good. So when you get to after the title sequence, it starts with a couple of Christian girls who are childhood friends, all excited about college.
I can't think of anyone else I would rather explore this bold new chapter of my life with than my childhood friend.
Yeah, growing up in Aberdeen was fun and all, but now I'm ready to see the great big world. Just think of all the things we can do and all the souls we can save now that we're in college.
And so they get into their first day, and then they get shown a reel-to-reel tape about the college and what's happening. And right at the end, it says, "Stay out of the steam tunnels." Like that. And then they see the role players walking down the hall, and then they get told about them. There's just like, yeah, that's them.
The cool thing is about that bit is that when you see them walking down they're like, who are those guys?
Hey, who are those people?
Those are the RPGers. We've been trying to get them thrown off campus for years, but they're just too popular. Until we can get them banished for good, it would be best if you just kept away from them.
What's an RPG?
You don't need to know. I've seen a lot.
And they look like the jocks. Like the main guy's like he's built as fuck, and he's like he just looks like he's the
leather
coolest.
jacket.
Yeah, it's
God,
like,
I
it's
remember
so funny.
that bit. Yeah.
So following that meeting that they just had with the seniors, and also seeing the RPGers walking down the hallway, they end up going to a party with the RPGers anyway, and they're like, well, we've got to check it out because maybe we can convert them, hear about the word of the Lord.
And this party is like the fucking raddest fucking thing ever.
It's like going there, it's like dubstep happening, everyone's like drinking, and then like everyone's like proper dancing going on.
Yeah, and it's literally just like it's like
yeah.
But that's not why you came tonight. Are you ready for the main event? Are you ready to RPG? Yeah! Then let's get ready to RPG! RPG!
It was fucking great. And I really love the line that Mistress Frost is the lady.
that's like the woman presiding over everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
She goes, "Let the games begin, and may your roles be ever natural."
That's too good. That's too good.
And then there's like a little montage. They've got some awesome terrain that they're laying out, and there's loads of rolling and rage quitting. And so people keep leaving the table, so obviously dying, and apparently this is their game. They're just killing off all the players until there's other people left. So it then cuts back to the satanic meeting and saying how they're all using the RPGs to learn them about necromancy and magic use, and soon they'll be living it in real life and fight because they have to.
Good boy.
Yeah.
It's that good old gateway drug. D&D.
So anyway, these two holy girls, these Christian girls, they start basically flunking college because they're playing too much RPGs.
We don't know how it happens. I mean, I failed my exams and I blame the RPGs. I wasn't playing them at the time, but retrospectively,
I'm still going to do what everyone else did and blame them.
I'm blaming them.
It's their fault.
I'm blaming them.
So Debbie, the girl with the pigtails in it, she gets converted somehow to a real life witch. She just basically stands on the Pentagon underneath in the steam tunnels, and they said, "Yes, you're now a witch." And
broomstick.
Hand her a tome. Which
Isn't
is
this because they get them into LARPing?
Yeah,
like so Mistress Frost is like, you've never experienced the thrill of LARP. Yeah, yeah. She's like, what is an LARP? Live action role playing.
Yeah. That's the one.
What a jingle!
And then that was just before. That was just after she got converted into a real.
Oh yeah, so yeah, she's like a real life witch, and then of course now she can use her witch talents in LARPing.
Of course,
yes. We all know this is how it works.
Yep.
Yeah. So they give her just at this LARPing bit in Tuesday. She gets handed a book, and then she opens it up, and she's like, "I can't read this. I think it's in Arabic." And they're like, "Oh, Marcy, didn't you learn Arabic to convert those Muslims to because they were worshipping a cow god, the wrong god?" And then she's like, "Oh yeah, so I can read this." And then she reads this extract from the book, and then you get a cool cut scene of Cthulhu.
Oh yeah, I forgot he's in it.
I forgot about
he's in it. Here he is.
Yeah. I was like, that's pretty cool, man. That's got Cthulhu in there.
Yeah, man.
And then essentially it sort of cuts back, and Mistress Frost kills off Marcy's character,
bitch,
who's Blackleaf. And then she's like basically saying, "Oh yes, you must leave." And they're trying to convince Debbie, if you break out of character right now, then you will lose the true power and stuff like this. So she has to stay in character and just tell her to leave.
Fair enough.
And she gets really, really upset.
Well, does she?
Oh yeah, so she kicks her friend out, doesn't she? They've been friends for ages, but now she's choosing the RPG over her.
Oh, what a bitch! Oh no!
And then so she goes back to her dorm room and she gets changed into her Christian clothes, all wearing white.
That's right.
She then writes the suicide note. That's the exact same
Don't she leave
font
it
and
on the
note.
fax machine?
Well, she prints it out, and then
right.
it's the exact same font and everything as the comic, which I thought was a nice touch. There's a lot in the comic that they're actually doing word for word as well.
And it's even like the same shot as the comic. If you look at the comic and in the film, the way the suicide note is laid out and the actual shot is the same, which actually is a nice touch.
It's good. The slight difference is that in the comic she killed herself at her parents' house, but here it was in the dorms. It made more sense this way.
I mean, it's funny how much attention to detail they put in for something they're taking the piss out of.
No, it was done very well. She hangs herself, right?
Yeah, she hangs herself. So Debbie finds Marcy and she's crying her eyes out, and she's like, "Oh my god, I can't believe this has happened." So she goes to the steam tunnels to try and fight the evil that she believes is under there.
Madame Frost.
Well, she goes under there, doesn't find Madame Frost. She comes across a monster that tries to attack her. Yeah, and it's like this cool paper mache weird thing. It looks like one of Andy Hop's creatures.
She's fighting a bunch of wet paper underneath it.
Yeah. Well, it looks pretty, and she's crying. She runs back to her dorm, and then she gets back. She's in a room, and then the senior comes in and basically says about, I've been fasting and praying for you because I know what you've been under. Come to a service later because we've got someone who came out of witchcraft and knows what we're talking about. So she goes there, pledges her re-allegiance to Jesus. There's little images of all the Satanist people sort of ghostly around her head saying, "You're making a mistake." And then eventually they say, "We're going to burn all the occult stuff and everything, so meet us later on and we'll burn loads of stuff." They burn all the books, and
like a true witchcraft ceremony.
And then she gets handed a white Bible.
Jesus high fives her and everything's good.
Jesus comes out of the fire. High fives there. Yeah. Fucking everyone's there. Joseph, Mary, Jesus, Job is there. Fucking everyone, man. There's even the devil, but he's not welcome, so he goes back.
And it just ends with her saying,
"Thank you, Lord, for setting me free."
What a story.
So essentially
it's pure satire, isn't it?
Yeah, she gets so invested in the game that when her character dies, she kills herself because she can't live anymore because her character's dead.
Fair enough.
Came out in 2015, didn't it?
Thing is, we've all felt that way when our character dies. We've all felt devastated, but I wouldn't go that far.
No.
Well, to be fair, I got really angry when my character died when I was out on call that time. Do you remember? And you were texting me, and I was like, no! And because I was stressed anyway from call out, and I was like, no!
You know what? We worried about you that you might go back and do a print out and hang yourself.
Yeah, well, I nearly did. But I was out of print rink, so.
So yeah, thank God for that.
Yeah.
You know, the Dark Dungeons is actually a good film. Though.
Yes.
And
Yeah, it is.
what I like is the two films, Mazes and Monsters and Dark Dungeons, are really diametrically opposed because Mazes and Monsters was made to stir up controversy and to cash in on the death of an actual human.
Yeah.
Whereas what Dark Dungeons does is really parodies what Mazes and Monsters did, and it's like
they even the speech in Maze and Monsters where killing, maiming, poison, and all that. They use that in the Dark Dungeons film as well.
Yeah,
and they do it. They do it really well. It's a proper tip in their hat to that.
Exactly, and what I like is the fact that Dark Dungeons it's kind of highlights how ridiculous Mazes and Monsters was by sort of using some other artifact from that era as like a sort of framing device. Do you know what I mean? And I actually like it for that aspect. Yeah. Like it's actually good. So I would watch it. You recommend it, James?
Well, I watched it twice.
Hey,
because for research, but also
for fun. Funsies.
Yeah. And if you can't be bothered to watch that whole film, it's
40 minutes.
Yes, 40 minutes, and there's a John Tron review on it that's very fucking funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, go check that out. But that's pretty much it for like the whole Satanic Panic thing. It's I feel like it was a very strange phenomenon, but once you understand all the facts, you can see why it happened.
Oh yeah,
and you can understand how it all boiled up. But it was kind of strange.
Well, don't forget, especially around that time as well, religion was a really big thing, especially all like the religious movements.
Well, it was the Bible Belt that mainly got so hyped up over this.
That's why it was so intense, I think, because everyone was just like, God this, God that, God will save you.
Yeah, and it was at that time that sort of. Like most people were Christian. I mean, at least in this country, I'm sure it was probably the same in America.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah,
and it was crazy. Like, I think that one of the weird things is like in preparation for this, obviously, I did a lot of researching into actual magic and Satanism and things like this, and the types of rituals that were actually practiced to see if there was any truth in it.
So did you perform any blood magic?
Oh, loads, mate. I mean, we did say I got a lot of goat blood in the fridge, right? But the thing about it is that the thing that it keeps coming back to was the only thing that D&D has in common with Satanism, right? The only thing. The magic thing, right? It has almost nothing in common with that. Like maybe tiny little bits, but the only thing it really has in common with Satanism is that Satanism is an inversion of Christian beliefs, right? Even down to the symbology they use. Say for example, it's the inverted cross, right? And then also the fact that their symbol is often a goat, because goats go away from the herd, and people within Christianity they herd into a church together and do the bidding of supposedly a god. That's not my beliefs, that's what they believe, right? Typically. And within D&D you're often taught that you are the master of your own destiny, and within Christianity you're often taught if something bad happens to you, well, that's God's will, and it's supposed to happen.
It's probably because you've done something wrong or something.
Exactly. Exactly, and that's fate and things like this. And in D&D as well, you're also taught that you do adventures that are kind of like within nature and things like this. And that's another thing that Satanism is like a big fan of, is that you're supposed to go out into nature and do things, and even though it's only fictional, within D&D you supposedly, some Satanists do say that you're connecting with nature again a little bit.
Okay.
One final thing is that in Christianity and things like this, you are taught, and I believe this anyway, and a lot of people believe this, to fear death. Because it's like a lot of times you go, God, have I been good enough to get into heaven? Like, whereas Satanism is all about not fearing death and embracing it as just another part of life. And D&D teaches you that, because especially AD&D, you died all the fucking time, and you would just
get used to it.
Right, get used to it. Death is a part of life. That's a part of the game. Get used to it.
Roll up another character.
And so, to an extent, by accident, I'm sure that Gary Gygax wasn't trying to make it a Satanist game. By accident, D&D did have something in common with Satanism. By accident. And the thing about it is that some schools of real magic. For example, the kind of stuff that Aleister Crowley taught, and he was an utter. But he would just say magic. The only thing that it is changing the universe via your will, right? Mm-hmm. And let's say, for example, you're a DM and you introduce people to D&D. Then you suddenly teach them they can be the master of their own destiny. They can commune with nature, and they can embrace death, right? Well, some magicians would argue that's a form of magic because you've taught people something via the use of a game. And so those are the only reasons I might say that there is some link. But I don't know if the fundamentalist Christians at the time were thinking about it.
They looked past that and just went, someone died and it must be to do with D&D because he had a book and that's it, and that's all we need.
Yeah. So, I mean, the research that I did, I think might have been a bit pointless because I don't know if they were talking about it on that level, but I just think that...
Oh, no, they were. It was all about that.
They might have been.
Some of the... I mean, go into YouTube and look at some of these interviews with some of these... what are they called? Evangelists or whatever they're called?
Evangelists.
Evangelists, that's it. Some of these... Go and check out some of these evangelists and what they're saying. It's just... I mean... They're clearly mad. But yeah, hype, storm in a teacup.
That's why I do think if you look at from the different angles, though, there is some truth to it.
Yeah,
and I say, I don't think it was on purpose, but I do think there are some little links. And like I say, I do feel sorry for all the people that were caught up in it at the time. But for those people that cashed in on it, they,
shame on you lot, man.
Shame
on you lot.
But we did get Dark Dungeons out of it.
Yeah.
And we got some funny quotes from Mazes and Monsters, so, but people died, so that sucks.
It was sad, and it was sad. It was a sad thing that got glorified for the wrong reasons, but there you go. But that's the Satanic Panic.
That may be the most sort of polarised segment we've ever done in our life.
Yeah.
Because there's so many funny things and so many unbelievably tragic things. So let's move on and do what we do best and do some stupid shit.
Yes!
What the hell that, man? I don't know. What the hell is that? I don't like it, man. What that? What that, man? What that? Run away! What dat?
So I'm bringing back an old school classic. This is What Dat. I've created a RPG related soundscape, right? Yeah. And you guys are going to have to listen to this and sort of determine something from it. Now, this time I've done a special What Dat, right? Hidden within this soundscape, this little audio drama you're about to hear, are the names of RPGs. So get a pen and paper, guys, because you're going to have to try and figure out all of these RPG names.
Within the sound, yeah?
Within the sound.
Okay. What? Alright, okay.
Right. Is everyone clear on what they need to do?
Yes. No.
What is it, Mevis?
You said I'm supposed to be the hack master, right? So I'm supposed to hack up all the goats for this here satanic ritual.
Yes.
Well, I don't know where to find the goat. So I got some chicken breasts.
Look, it'll have to do. Is everyone else clear on what they have to do during the ritual?
Yes.
Well, what is it now? It's just you mentioned we were going to summon Kabobo. And I read the Gong Farmer's Almanac and I can't see nothing about Kabobo in there. Cthulhu, idiot! The ritual is called the Call of Cthulhu. Oh, I see. Right, so if we're quite ready, hold your blackwood wands aloft and begin chanting, and which will summon the Dark Lord, okay? Okay. O Dark Lord Cthulhu, bringer of madness, lord of fiasco, crusher of low life, I beseech you, come once again from your slumber to this world which steams with useless life and turn it into dead lands. Mutant Cruel Classics. Oh, sorry about that. Sorry. Can we start again? Oh, it's everywhere.
Very good. I like that.
Right.
How
So
many
let's-
did you get?
Let's see how many. Let's see what your answers are.
I got 7.
6, 7. I got 8.
Ooh.
Okay, so let's start with James then.
Right, I got Hackmaster.
Yep.
And then I didn't get the full wording of this, so I've only got the word almanac in. So we can ignore that.
We don't count that then.
Right, Call of Cthulhu.
Yep. Keep going.
Blackwood.
Yep.
Fiasco.
Yep.
Low Life.
Yep.
Deadlands.
Yep.
Mutant Cruel Classics.
Very good. And Nick, we'll go for you then.
Yeah, so I got Hackmaster.
Yep.
Call of Cthulhu.
Yep.
The Grogfather's Almanac.
Close.
Is it Grogfather?
It's Gong Farmer's
Gong.
Almanac.
That's it. Damn
There
it.
you go, see?
I said Grog. Blackwood, Fiasco, Low Life, Deadlands, and Mutant Core Classics.
Very good. The one you actually got all of them except Gong Farmer's Almanac. You spelled it wrong.
Yep.
There was one hidden in there very subtly during the chanting right at the beginning. Somebody goes, Shadowrunner! The thing is, I don't think anyone would have got that. It's really quiet.
Shadowrunner! That cracked me up. That's so funny.
The amount of noise I had to make during that. Like, my wife, I was like, I just need to record something quickly. And then I had to record the chanting over and over again. So I was just like, just for fucking ages.
You have a stroke in there.
Yeah. Awful.
That was fun.
All right, I'm glad you guys had fun.
Yeah, that was good.
How many did you get at home, listeners? Don't email in.
We don't care.
But next up, we got something extra special for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to see which of our single monsters is going out on a date tonight. Because it is time for Monster Blind Date. That's right, let's meet the singles.
And welcome to Saturday night's favourite show, it's Monster Blind Date. As always, we have 3 contestants here, and we have 2 people who might be taking these contestants out on a date. We get to know a little bit about them, and then whoever seems like the greatest dater wins.
Thanks.
So let's welcome our 2 guests.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Nick. My name's Harrison. I look forward to taking one of these beautiful single monsters out on a date tonight. It's going to be fun. Do we really have to keep them behind a screen?
We do indeed.
Thank you. My name's James. Thank you for having me on the show, Nick. I really can't wait. You know, I've been trying to look in the monster scene for a date, and I've had no luck. So this is, all I've got going for me.
Yeah, me too, man. So I'm looking for a hot date tonight. Me and James, we obviously we don't mind sharing, so we're gonna take one out together. So it's gonna be good.
Sharing is caring. So as you all know, you get to ask each contestant a question.
All right. Well, James, we'll go for contestant number 1. I would like to ask contestant number 1, if you were to buy me a gift to romantically woo me, what gift would that be?
Hello, and thank you for asking. If I was to buy you a gift, it would probably be the soul of a mortal. You see, they're very good to use, and they are very nice gifts to put on a table, I believe.
What a guy.
Wow.
Lovely.
I'm wooed already.
I know, I feel a tingling.
I feel a bit hot.
Okay, and James, next question. And which contestant would you like to ask?
I would like to ask contestant number 3. Your favourite food and why?
Yo, what's up? Yeah, so my favorite food, probably gotta be, well, I don't eat too much, I don't really eat, though, but I've heard that, meat's pretty good, so maybe a bit of meat, maybe, something like that.
Don't know about that guy.
It's a bit fussy. He doesn't really know what they want.
I like someone with a bit of personality, actually.
Someone who's more decisive.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, thank you, contestant number 3.
Thank you. I'd like to ask a question to contestant number 2. Okay, do you give good massages?
Well, I try, but they often end up in the massagee being consumed.
Okay.
So stay away from massages with you. Thank you for the heads up.
And your next question, and final question. Remember, this one needs to be a good one.
Can this be to all contestants, or I have to choose one?
Absolutely, it's the final question.
All right, all contestants, please. What is your favourite sexual position?
Oh, good one.
Can't wait.
Who would you like to ask first?
Let's go in order. 1, 2, then 3.
Okay, contestant number 1.
Death, normally.
What does that involve?
Well, often killing, and then removing the soul.
And contestant number 2?
My favourite position would be total consumption.
And contestant number 3.
Yo, my favorite position would be, probably... Well, it's not really a position, it's more an art, if you know what I'm saying, but, necrophilia?
Oh, dear.
Is that okay? Can I say that on TV?
Oh, well, you've said it, so you might as well just keep it there. Okay, contestants, thank you very much. Let's ask our guests, who's going out on a monster date?
Oh, James, I don't know which one.
Don't know.
At the moment, I think the thing is, if we go with number 1, that's going to be with.
Well, it's going to be the end of us.
Well, no, because if we get lucky on a date, we're going to die.
Yeah.
Number 2, all they did was blabber the gibberish, but I think that one would give good.
I think they'll
give good head. I'm just going to say it.
I'm not sure if we can have that on national television, but never mind.
I've said it, Nick. So, look, James, which one are we going for? No, I think 3 actually. He's boring, but I think maybe
he's probably
the safest.
Yeah, I think. But do we like safe? Is safe boring? Is safe too boring?
All right, let's go for 1 because he's a bit roguish and he might be fun. Although there's the risk of death, sometimes risk can be exciting.
Exactly. Basically, the idea is not to get too hot under the collar.
Okay, for contestant number 2, please reveal yourself.
Hello, my name is Jonathan Blobbington, and I am a gelatinous cube.
Good to meet you, man. Well, I'm sorry.
You've broken my heart.
Good to meet. How do I shake?
Wait a minute.
No, just touch me.
Hello. Get off.
It's all over me.
All right, see yourself out for Jonathan Blobbington. And let's also meet contestant number 3. Reveal yourself.
Yeah, hi, my name's Leonard Fenchwood. You may know me as a lich.
Oh, God. Well, I'm glad we didn't go with him. They can be grumpy. But anyway, nice to meet you, Mr. Fenchwood.
Yeah, likewise.
Wait. I would shake your hand, but I'm worried that I might turn into dust.
Yeah, alright, I see myself out, okay?
F5, wee.
See you later, mate.
And let's meet our lucky contestant. Contestant number 1. Let's remove the screen.
Let's hope he's fuckable.
Here he is! It's Alfred Nimbleson!
Hello! It's me, the Mind Flayer.
Oh, God, he's sexy. I like the tentacles.
Thank you.
Wow.
Now prepare to dine.
Prepare. You did mean dine, right?
Yes.
You definitely meant to say that originally.
We're all eating, is that correct? All of us.
Well, someone is.
Okay, everybody, just give him a big round of applause! Thanks. See yourself out.
Thank you.
Someone please send help.
We're gonna die.
Roll up, come and play Dragon or Blaggin', a game where you could win big. Under this box, do I have a dragon, a mysterious creature of mythical origin, or is there in fact nothing? Am I blagging? Well, find out now, only £10 ago.
You, sir, come and play the game. Who? Me? Yes, you. Come on, come and play. Dragon or Blaggin'. Ha ha!
So this is Dragon or Blaggin', where this is kind of a quiz thing. And basically, the quiz is like there's usually one correct entry and a load of bollocks, and the people have to figure out which one the correct entry is. And James has done a little quiz for us.
I have.
James.
I have. This is Dragon the Blaggin', the Dark Dungeons edition.
Oh, wait.
So this is based on the film, and the questions will follow. During the opening sequence, with the satanic meeting taking place, they report on their progress. But which report is the real deal? Is it 1? I am excited to announce that this year more people have decided to be RPGers than ever before in history. Is it 2? I am excited to announce that this year more people have decided to be homosexuals than ever before in history.
Okay.
Or is it 3? I am excited to announce that this year more people have decided to be part of the Dark One's domain than ever before in history.
It's got to be C.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's A because it's more people playing RPGs. I doubt it'd be homosexuals.
Well, looks like you're both wrong. It is homosexuals. It says, I am excited to announce every year more people have decided to be homosexuals than ever before in history.
That's positive news.
Yeah, that's good. Oh well. Like nil point.
That's all right. Point goes to me. Put that in my pocket and keep it.
You don't get a point. You're the quiz master. You're the maze machine or whatever it's called.
The maze controller.
Like maze machine.
Yeah, maze machine. It's a good track song.
Yeah.
Track song name. Right, next question. When Marcy and Debbie have their first day in college, they see a group of people walking down a hallway and ask Mike, their senior they're with, who they are. How he initially responds is, "Those are the RPGers." But how does he follow up this statement? Is it with, 1, "We've been trying to get them thrown out of campus for years, but they're just too popular"? Is it 2, "If I were you, I'd stay away from them, as they all perform satanic rituals every night in the hope of resurrecting the Dark One"? Or 3, "Don't join their club. You'll never want to do anything but RPG all the time and you'll forget about Jesus"?
I'm going to go with C.
I think it's A. We've been trying to get them thrown out of campus for years, but they're too popular.
It is A. But I love the delivery of it. But they're just too popular. Damn it!
It's amazing. It's amazing. What a film!
I need to watch that.
All right. When Mistress Frost, the DM at the time, let's face it, kills off a bunch of players, what does she do with the miniatures? Does she A, crush them with a tombstone, B, throw them into a fireplace, or C, just remove them and put them behind her screen?
It's not going to be C, is it?
Crush them with a gravestone.
Yeah, I'm going to go crush them with a tombstone as well.
No, she throws them into a fireplace, but really sadistically, like she's proper enjoying it.
I need to get a fireplace.
Yeah, just burn anything. Do you know what? I used to, there was a family member had one of them years ago, and it was absolutely brilliant because it was just like a bin. We was eating roast chicken once, and I remember someone just threw the carcass in the fucking fire.
Must have smelled good.
Yeah, that's farmers for you.
All right, next one. So after Debbie reaches level 8 in real life and gets accepted into the Covenant and converted into a witch...
What is reaching level 8 in real life? Anyway, go on.
That's an age-old question.
Marcy and Debbie are speaking to each other, and then they decide to go see Mistress Frost to ask about getting Marcy to level 8 also. Mistress Frost cuts their conversation off with, "Enough chit-chatting, we have important news to discuss." But what was it they said beforehand to have Mistress Frost cut them off like that? Was it A, "Since Marcy is 7th level and I'm 8th level, we're thinking we could take on something harder"? B, "How are we going to advance Blackleaf now that Elf Star is a level ahead"? Or C, "Hello, Mistress Frost."
I actually think it's going to be C because I think it would be funnier since the film's going for laughs. I think it'd be funnier if it was something mundane.
Yeah.
So it's like, "Hello, Mistress Frost. Enough chit chat."
Yeah, I think it's C as well.
It's exactly that.
Yeah! Enough chit chat.
This is why the film's hilarious. Go watch it.
Oh.
And another one.
Okay.
At the end, Debbie burns all her occult material in the bonfire. But what RPG books did they use as props in the burning?
Good question.
Is it A, Pathfinder, B, Dungeons and Dragons, or C, Hackmaster?
I think it's Hackmaster. I don't remember because it's been
a Hackmaster book. How have I fooled you?
It's been ages since I've seen it, but I actually think it's probably Hackmaster.
Nick?
I'm gonna go Pathfinder.
Nick, you're correct.
Yes.
There was more than one Pathfinder book.
I think it's illegal to burn Hackmaster books.
Probably.
It should be.
Yeah.
It should be.
Yay!
Right, bonus question.
Here we go.
And there's not multiple choice.
Okay.
But what other book was burning in the fire?
Oh yeah, because I remember they actually put something else in there that was like really weird. Like it was just a funny reference, but I can't remember what the fuck it was. I'm gonna go for Nigella Lawson's Guide to Home Cooking.
I'm going to go for Not Now Bernard, that childhood classic.
Not Now Bernard.
That's the best book ever.
No, there's a Harry Potter book.
Oh.
Just a random one just being burnt in there.
I think that actually makes sense though, because that's been accused of Satanism as well.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Yeah. I mean,
there we have it.
Look, anything with magic in it gets accused of Satanism. And to be fair, with fucking J.K. Rowling's recent fucking wind-up drunken tweets, I think that you would assume that there is Satanism in it. Did you see what she wrote?
No.
She said that fucking before the wizards adopted Muggle plumbing, they used to shit on the floor and then just magic it away.
To where? Another dimension?
Yeah, I guess so. And the funny thing is that then a lot of fans, like super fans, realised that would mean that when they put the plumbing in, that all of the plumbers would have seen the Chamber of Secrets, and then so other people like people that look after her books and that had to come in and say, well, no, actually the plumbing was done in this very specific way, and it's like J.K. Rowling, just stop tweeting stuff.
Yeah, what are you doing to us?
Anyway, yeah, thanks for doing that, James.
That was awesome.
That was a good dragon or blagging.
Who won? Well, no one knows.
We know, if anyone out there wants to sort of tot up the points, you please do, but we're never gonna. Alright, so next up we're going to move on to Electro Letters, where we read your mail from around the internet.
We better get out of this dark dungeon basement then, better we?
Yeah, let's go upstairs. It's lighter up there.
Out of the caverns we go.
Back to God's realm.
In the future, you will be able to send a letter or parcel from anywhere on the planet. This, sir, is the Electro Letter.
Alright, so Electro Letters, yeah, as I said, we read your letters and mail from around the world, and we've got some general questions, and we also asked you guys for the most evil things a GM or PC has ever done. However, we're going to start off with the general questions. First one comes in from Greg Bruni. He says, hello guys. One question I had for you guys after listening to your awards show was about the Year Zero system. He says, I've been playing Savage Worlds since about 2004. I will admit that it has spoiled me in a way of GMing. I love the fact there is practically no bookkeeping on my part and the game flows extremely fast and flexible. It has kind of ruined me for many other systems. As Gary said on an episode of the Wild Die podcast, he would never run systems like D20 because he feels that like it would be going backwards. So my question for you guys is, how does Year Zero play in comparison to Savage Worlds? Is it fast or clunky? I downloaded the Red Mutant Year Zero starter pack, but since you guys have played it and loved it, I thought I would ask you that. Thanks, Greg. Nick?
Thanks for asking, Greg.
As you're DMing it, I think that you should answer this one.
I don't find it clunky at all, really. No, I don't think it's clunky. It's there's a lot of generalised skills. It's quite straightforward. You have a skill and something connected to it, and that's an attribute, and you just roll a pool of dice, and that's it. And you're just looking for a 6. I think it flows quite well. As a GM, it's quite easy to run. As players, do you find it?
I find it easy. Yeah. My only thing is that I guess what Greg's asking is like he's saying is it low prep. So let's say for example in Savage, like what you could do is like if you want to come up with like a character on the fly, it's piss easy.
Yes.
Do you find that easy in Year Zero?
Yeah, I mean you can knock. I think Savage Worlds is easier for that, but I wouldn't say it's difficult. Having the book's quite helpful because you've got a bunch of pre-gens.
Well, you can knock up a character in about 2 minutes.
Yeah,
I guess
if you know what's going on, you can just do that.
Yeah. Totally, but I guess what you could do in Year Zero, because you have a certain amount of points that you assign based on your age, and then you have a certain amount of points that you assign based on to like skills based on
your rank
yeah,
things
that's
like
right.
this. So I believe so anyway. So yeah, you kind of do that, and what I would say is like just if you want to create a character like really quickly, just do like give them 2 in every attribute, and then just give them like 2 in 3 skills.
Exactly, same as Savage World. D6 across the board, nice and easy, and it's same as you want to quickly knock up a character. You know how much you got to spend, so just literally blow it on that.
Yeah, I think it's easy to play.
Any character can have any skill except for their specialised skill, so it's not like you've got to think about certain skills and stuff. Like they're all there. Just depends how good they are in that particular skill by giving them some extra points. Simple as that. It is pretty straightforward, to be honest with you. I think it flows well. It's easy. You've got it all set up for you. You've got this kind of whole area that you can sandbox it if you like, and
and the only thing is as we say earlier, it's sort of kind of a blend between a story game and an RPG.
Yes.
So what you got to remember is that the mechanics in this game aren't really like the king. It's it's what it is about really generating an interesting story.
Yeah, it's the narrative behind it.
Yeah, and
here's the role, here's what I got, so how's it happen? Why is it good? Why is it bad?
Pushes relationships like Mutant Year Zero, Gen Lab Alpha, this kind of stuff. Actually on your character sheet it says your connections to each player, who you look after, your big dream. It really kind of makes you kind of flesh out the character yourself. So to create one's easy, and then to make it yours and make it unique is where it comes into its own.
But that's what's fun about it. So if you have players at a table, make sure that they are not focusing too much on mechanics and just focus on story, and that way then you'll have a good time. Other than that, I think it flows incredibly well, and it's just as easy as Savage. I've run Tales from the Loop, which is very similar. And I always find that it always creates the best stories because all you need to do is just focus on ask the players, hey, what you doing? And then you just say, yeah, roll that, and it's so simple.
And Tales from the Loop's even easier, isn't it?
Because the GM doesn't roll.
You even have to roll.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
I
even
love that
less
game.
prep, really. Or well, not so much prep, but just on like while you're GMing, you're not got to worry about dice rolls as well because you don't need to do them. So
Yeah, and I find that it actually allows the GM to focus on
Story and narrative,
Yeah,
yeah.
same goes for Gen Lab, I
I think
assume.
so. Yeah, definitely.
I bought the book as well because I
Mhm.
want to run it in future.
Yeah.
And you can. It's also compatible with the other products.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
I would definitely say check it out.
Oh, and Lean comes in with the next one. He says, general question. In the event of a no-deal Brexit, which one of you will be eaten first?
Oh, Daniel's comment made me laugh on this one. He said, "I'm sure Nick would just offer himself up because he's nice." So, well, yeah, probably true.
But which one of us would make the best meal?
Ooh, good question. Who's got the best meat?
James is the fattest.
I'm the largest.
Yeah,
I've got the best arse, and there's good meat on the arse.
Like rump steak.
Yeah.
That's saying something.
I don't know. I
It's
don't
in
know if
my
I would
ass.
eat your arse though.
No. Oh.
Eat your ass.
Okay. Or you can blow my ass.
Blow your ass. So,
who would be eaten? Who would be tastier?
I would eat James.
You wouldn't eat him.
No, I would.
I would eat James
because that's like exotic meat.
Yeah, I'd eat you up.
He's the foreigner.
I'd saute you.
They'd eat my sausage.
You get sautéed, and I would eat your sausage. Simply put.
Heard it here first.
There you go. There's your answer.
So James, watch out, man.
Yeah, we come to eat.
We're after you.
That's fine. I'll oil myself up beforehand.
We're not afraid of you!
Still my That lowers your attack points because you're scared!
So we asked you guys for the most evil things a GM or a PC has done and that you have witnessed. And you guys came out with some good shit. Okay, so Daniel Irwin, he's there. He's always there, man. He comes in and he says, nothing I would classify as worthy as one of those RPG horror stories, but I had a player years ago who had obviously just hated people. I can relate to that, man. Played a dwarf in MERP, which is Middle Earth role-playing, and we had a new player join. He waited until the fellow player's back was turned and then severed his spine.
Oh.
For no other reason than I didn't trust him. Luckily, he didn't last much longer. Whilst travelling on a merchant ship across the Sea of Rune, he was caught going through their wares and decided to fight the entire crew. They lopped off both his legs, yes, earning him the genuine title of Stumpy before chucking him overboard while he was still alive. Oh wait, maybe I'm the evil GM.
Brilliant.
That's the thing.
Poetic justice.
That is one thing that I really, really hate in RPGs is that whenever players come across something they don't like, their solution is always to kill the person.
Yeah.
So if you don't trust someone in real life, you don't just kill them or sever their spine. I mean, maybe sometimes. But not all the time.
Nah.
I mean, it always happens, doesn't it? It's like, guy's in your way, I'll kill him.
Yeah. This guy said something to me. And it's like, I'm going to attack him. Why?
Why would you do that? You most probably just have an argument and leave, or do something to mess with him. You wouldn't.
Yeah.
You wouldn't. Most times in real life, you wouldn't kill him. Especially the amount of times you've played a fantasy game, right? And you're in the middle of a city, and then it's just like this guy's annoyed you, so I'll kill him. I'll punch him in the face. It's like you know the guards are going to go after you, right?
Yeah.
I sever his spine. All right,
that is intense, isn't it?
That's bad. I'd be mad.
And against the player character as well.
I know.
Yeah,
that is hot.
I don't think you were evil, Daniel. I think your NPCs chucking him overboard was what he bloody deserved, especially when he had no legs.
Yeah.
Imagine trying to swim with his hands.
Swim out of that one. I feel sorry for the player who got his spine severed. It's like, we're walking along. Oh, wait. Oh,
Just because
thanks.
the guy didn't trust him.
Yeah.
What an anus.
Well, an anus. Next one is from Connor Warden, and Connor comes in with, I've heard about a GM who once flesh crafted a piano in a dungeon.
That was him.
But it's probably creative use of mind control powers by players to get enemies to kill people they loved, then snap the target out of it and leave them to their broken life. Oh, wow.
That's pretty creative.
Yeah.
So they've just gone up to an enemy, gone, kill your mates. And then they just, as soon as the guy snaps out of it, they're just like, what have I done?
So have a look.
And then the PCs are just like, bye,
See you then.
have fun.
That's grim.
Yeah, I like that.
Grim.
I mean, but I would do that.
Would you expect anything less from the Man-Nano guy?
P-Mano.
P-Mano, sorry.
P-Mano.
Yeah, but was this his players or him? Did he do it? We want to know more.
Connor,
But that's good. I mean, if you've got mind control powers, use them creatively.
Yeah,
and that's a good way of doing it.
Yep.
But the fact that he's used the mind control powers on one guy, then the guy that's left, he's like, don't worry, he'll be broken enough when he comes around.
Yeah,
we don't need to kill him.
We don't need to kill that guy. Death is easy for this guy after what he's done.
Totally.
Nice.
Terry Hansen comes in with the next one. He says, the most evil thing was my daughter's player character. We were playing Savage Worlds, anthropomorphized mutant animal ninja teen type game.
Of course, as you do.
It's just standard.
That's a mouthful.
That's a Tuesday for me. My kids' characters were finding their sensei who had been captured by an enemy clan of snake ninjas. This story just raises further questions
awesome. Yeah,
the more you go into it.
Yeah.
They get to the final scene and the enemy ninja boss is sitting on his throne with PC's sensei chained to the floor in front of him. The ninja boss is petting the sensei's head. The sensei was a white bunny, like he was a Bond villain's pet cat. Along the walls were Ninja Master's prisoners chained up so he could drain their souls and power his magic. My daughter thought this was the coolest thing ever. She told me she had been working for the evil Ninja Master for years as a spy. Now was the time to reveal her deception and attack. Her character was behind the other players and she just starts shooting them in the back with her bow and arrow.
Whoa. Whoa.
Before she kills her siblings' characters, I have her and a ninja boss teleport away to attack another day. They were already mad enough at her for being a traitor. While this may not seem super evil, my daughter was 9 at the time. While I was very proud of her quick thinking and role playing, I had to ban them from killing and attacking their siblings in future games.
Oh my god.
I love it.
That's brilliant. Hey.
So she just totally sympathised with the villain.
Yeah. Love it. That's cracking at 9 years old. Evil genius.
Wow. You want to keep an eye on her, Terry?
That's so cool. Next one comes in from Conrad Erasmus Neubert, and Conrad says, there was a lot of torture the PCs did to evil NPCs back when I was GMing D&D.
You know, that's common, man.
Yeah.
People do it, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
I remember back in the day, James did it to somebody, right? He was fucking lawful good. And for a whole session just bloody forgot. And they were just, all they were doing was looking for some information. And it's like,
I tied someone up to a rope and then hung them from a ceiling beam.
For like 24 hours.
Yeah, started beating on them. They weren't saying anything, so we left them there.
Oh.
And then we forgot and burnt the house down.
Oh, yeah, we've had some bad.
Yeah, they were like, right, we got to get rid of this evidence. Right, let's burn it down. I'm like, fuck me, like these guys were like lawful good alignments, right? And they were just like, for a moment, James was like, well, we got to get this information. See, there's a difference between like because most people will bend their alignment but not break, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
because most people will. I mean, we've all done it in real life at times. You've gone, I know this isn't right, but I've got to do it, and then you will take it out of the bum, you know. but the thing about it is that like everyone breaks, bends but doesn't break. And in this case, James bent so far, it was just like, mate, you are evil now.
Yeah. I ain't going back from that.
This guy was hanging from the rafters, like they just hung him from the rafters and were just like, boosh, boosh.
Yeah, punch bagging him.
And then burnt him to death.
And the guy was like, please, I have a family. And James was like, we need information. Boof.
Yeah, mate.
Where's the trigger? Where is it?
Right, next one we got comes in from Owen Lean. Due to the actions of Harrison, I ended up writing an adventure called Dr. Spectacular and Co. and the Search for Gold, The Fuckening. On the second playthrough of this game, one player, who shall remain nameless, was playing the part of Satan Girl, a superhero of evil. The heroes found themselves in a corridor covered with giant cobwebs, which on closer inspection turned out to be made of sugar. Satan Girl took out her electric power drill and used it to wrap up all the sugar around it like a piece of whirling fairground confectionery.
Why does he call it whirling fairground confectionery?
Candy floss.
Yeah, candy floss. Candy floss isn't like a trademark, you know.
It's candy floss.
Yeah, it's not like Hoover.
In the next room, they find a little girl playing hopscotch. Around her neck is a medallion the heroes need to open a locked door they passed a while ago. Before anyone else can act, Satan Girl goes up to the child with her sugar-coated power tool and says, "Hello, would you like some candy floss?" "Yay," the child says and opens her mouth widely. The player winced and mimed pressing the button of the drill.
Yeah, I heard about this. He like fucked her up. Like, and the girl's just like, ah!
Oh my god! That is evil.
That's fucked up.
That is a great tale of fucking evil.
That's fucked up.
That's messed up.
Yeah, that's fucked.
That is right.
That is fucked up.
Okay, and next one comes in from Torre B. Peterson. He says, I played in a homebrew fantasy campaign about 20 years ago. One of the PCs had gotten a curse that turned his hand into some kind of undead claw thingy. He eventually found a ritual to cure it. The problem was that it involved a human sacrifice. My character, a fairly innocent ranger, and another PC, I seem to remember he was some sort of death cleric, helped the guy by kidnapping a young boy. We don't know the exact purpose of the kidnapping, but we had our suspicions. I don't remember how he persuaded us to help him kidnap someone, but I remember how shitty both of our characters felt after the deed. Pretty dark stuff. But it was one of the best and most intense role-playing moments I've had. I can't remember if the ritual actually worked, though.
To be fair, it was about 20 years ago.
I know, but that was the bit I was waiting for, man.
Did he keep his little nasty monster hand, or did he get rid of it?
Well, he kidnapped a young boy. We've all done it. Not in real life. We did it in the zombie campaign, right?
Yeah.
In Nick's zombie campaign, like literally session 2, we kidnapped a boy.
And then fed him to the zombies.
Well, I did.
Well, yeah.
We were talking about that the other day, me and Sean. I mean, if we're going to talk about now, which we will now, our most evil moments that we've ever witnessed the GM or PC do, mine was probably that was one of mine, because my character became desperate. We were actually surrounded by a swarm of zombies, and we were like, we had this little boy that I'd kidnapped. That was pretty evil in and of itself. And then obviously we were surrounded, so I was just like, well, what can I do? And it was like,
just fed him to the zombs.
I fed him to the zombs because the dad didn't want him back. He was just like, look, it's dog eat dog out there, okay? If you're going to try and bribe me, I don't accept bribes, okay?
Oh, yeah.
So go fuck yourself.
No, it's most evil from both ends. Evil DM because he's not going to make his father.
He wouldn't budge.
Yeah. And then evil player because
we were like, right, well, this is one more mouth to feed, and just hurled him into the, and there was just like munch.
Well, he escaped thanks to that move.
Yeah, he saved you, didn't he?
I think we touched upon my one with that super torture and then burning alive.
Yeah, that was a pretty evil thing you did.
That was pretty fucking brutal.
My oh god, one that springs to mind for me was Balthazar, when we met the girl that was possessed, and I was just like, kill the child, and he just wanted to just kill her straight away, and everyone else was like, no, we can't just kill her, and my character just didn't.
So what happened was that this was during Solomon Kane, and Nick's character was a witch hunter, and he just had absolutely no tolerance for anything demonic or evil.
None.
And so this girl was like writhing on the bed like the film The Exorcist, and they were just, everyone was like, right, how can we've got to find a cure for this, and then Balthazar was literally just kill the child. Yeah, that was funny.
That was
so one of the most heinous things I've ever seen two players do is when they diddle the corpse in Saga of the Goblin Horde.
Whoops.
Oh yeah, they were playing goblins though, weren't they?
I love how you.
That makes it all right then.
They were playing goblins, and then one of them just followed what the other one did. So and then it was just like, oh yeah, because the goblins.
But James, they could have had their own independent thought, couldn't they? Instead of just following blindly.
Hey, but they were just reveling in the moment of being a fucked up goblin. They've never really played a proper evil character before. Ever.
Were they, James?
Yes, they are persons.
Persons unknown.
It's funny how you know so intricately their thought process, James.
I got told about it, like, you know.
Yeah.
It was you, James.
Dun.
You did it.
That secret for years.
Yeah.
You did it.
It was me and Ryan.
You finally revealed. We've spoken about this for years.
Yeah, we always said we wouldn't say it.
We told Richard like quite soon after it happened.
Yeah, he was the only one that knew.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's out there now.
Me and Ryan, we killed some people and then did some stuff when they were dead.
Shame on you.
It's out there.
It's out there.
Now you know, Dad. Okay, so that's it for an episode. So we'll go on to the outro now.
Sweet.
Goodbye.
See that professionalism.
Go out.
Go on, go battlefield.
Are you three civilized? Start acting like it. You're still acting like a damn bunch of heathens.
Okay, so we do have an email address. That address is probably going to be changed pretty soon anyway, so we won't give it out this time, but search for the 3T RPG podcast on Facebook, we, all of that stuff, and of course we'll be on Patreon as well, so if you want to donate us some money, then please do that, because, you know, we absolutely love what we do, and we want to keep it going. We recycle all of that money back into the show, so
we're non-profit. Everything that you guys invest in us, we invest back into this podcast.
Yeah,
exactly.
All of the links will be in the show notes, so have a check.
Yep.
And, I haven't spent a penny on that on weeds.
I haven't spent a penny of it on bleach.
That's a very weird thing to say.
Buy a lot of bleach, dear.
Do you know what? Now it does sound like we have done those things.
Oh.
But we actually haven't, so ignore that.
I needed to clean my bathroom.
No, it does all go back into the show. You need to clean your bathroom, do you? Is there a mess in there?
Well, because I was taking a page out of J.K. Rowling's book and I just shat on the floor, but it didn't work.
Bleach is really good
you
for
possess
bodies.
not the magic.
Yeah.
It's just been pointing a stick at it for days. It's not going
Turns
anywhere.
It turns out
Shitos disappearos.
It turns out I am a muggle, and I'm ashamed to say it.
Sorry, mate.
That is a shame.
Yeah, so obviously, new brand, everybody. So don't be too scared when you see a different name.
And everything should be on forward, so you can use our old
And
shit.
by the time this pod is out, most of it should have changed. So it would be a nice smooth transition for y'all.
Well, that's it for us, guys. So I want to say goodbye, and remember that D20s are cool, but 20Ds, well, that's a good time.